Mage, start as a master of magical potions. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 151, Entering the Witch Coven. In the long uninhabited woods, Sunan took Vasilion, Wolf 1 and Wolf 2, and found the pit where the merchant fell. There were some wild grasses and flowers growing next to the pit. Sunan noticed that these plants had some healing effects on humans through the smell of these wild flowers and grasses in the air, and he also noticed that there were some stone statues as tall as children in the woods. These stone statues were like tumblers, with almost no traces of artificial carving on the surface, and because of the years, they were bumpy, like natural stones. But it was these stone statues that formed a magic ritual. It's just that the specific effect of this magic ritual is still unknown. However, Sunan noticed that this magic ritual at least contains the primary effect that people with less than 20 mental power cannot find. In other words, this gathering should be eliminating wizards below the first class wizard apprentice. The standard for participating in the gathering of petrified witches is at least a first class wizard apprentice. Perhaps there will also be some second class wizard apprentices brought in by first class wizard apprentices. It seems that the merchant was put in and heard the witch's conversation in the pit. It must be the witch's intention. Sunan looked up at the sky and heard a thunderous sound, followed by a rainstorm. Countless raindrops fell on the muddy ground. The originally bright sky suddenly darkened. It was sunny at noon, but now it was cloudy. At the same time, Sunan and Vasilion noticed that there were many people around. There were several people in the place where there were no people. Sunan put on the wooden mask prepared in advance. The witches' meeting began. Intelligent brain, start recording the current environmental changes and analyze the current situation. Sunan thought. Yes, the weather in your previous environment has not changed at all. According to the scan, the forest is still in the clear air at noon, but you are pulled into a special dimension. It is speculated that this witch meeting was held in a special field. The earth pit in the woods of Samora's territory is even just one of the entrances to this gathering, which means that the wizards and witches you see now are not really in front of you. In the dark weather of the storm, all the rain fell on Sunan and others, but it automatically moved aside. A tall first-class apprentice witch wearing a golden priestess mask said, "Oh my, it seems that there are 2 new people in this transaction. It's really rare. There haven't been new people joining the gathering for a long time. Chariot, Justice, Petrified Witch, World, we meet again. I hope you can bring you good things this time." The first-class apprentice witch wearing the tarot card world mask seemed indifferent to the newcomers and urged them, "Hurry up and trade. Everyone's time is precious. I have recently refined a batch of glimmer herbs that can help increase the growth rate of your mental power. I want you to pay me with universal magic stones. If you have other magic resources that interest me, that's fine too. Don't negotiate with me. After all, I'm the only wizard in this gathering who can stably provide this kind of potion that can improve mental power." Sunan looked at her in surprise. So that's it. This is most likely the first-class female apprentice of herbal medicine that the merchant mentioned to him. I'm somewhat interested in her glimmer herb, and maybe I can get some inspiration from it to create a third potion that increases mental power and speed. The witch wearing the tarot card priestess mask retorted, "You don't have to be so anxious. The gathering is divided into 3 stages. The stage of introducing strange stories and experiences, the stage of exchanging information, and the stage of direct magical resource trading. Besides, you are not the only wizard who can provide unique magical resources. Chariot is obviously from a wizard family and can provide stable magical item identification services. Justice can always come up with some precious magical resources. I think he may be a forgotten person." The world witch snorted coldly. The chariot explained hastily, "You misunderstood. I'm just an old wizard apprentice who has inherited some things. I'm not particularly useful, and I'm not from a wizard family. I can use my ability to identify magic items to exchange for some of your magic resources, which is good enough. I'm just a useless old man who is a first-class wizard apprentice. I'm currently living a stable life in a certain country. Please don't guess my identity blindly. Justice seems to be a female wizard. She said coldly, I'm not a forgotten person. I just dare to fight and fight, so I got some precious magic resources. So, what the world witch said is not wrong. She can stably produce special potions. Among the regulars of this market, she is a relatively important role. There are many wizards and witches who occasionally come to the market, most of whom come specifically for her. But those wizards who come occasionally are just so-so, and basically can't produce anything good. From their conversation, Sunan figured out the identities and relationships of these people. It seems that these 4 people are regulars of the market, and the petrified witch is the host of this market. I'm a newcomer who suddenly entered this market. However, because of Vasily's high mental power, they seem to regard Vasily as a first-class wizard apprentice. The petrified witch used her true appearance. She was an old witch with silver white hair. There were wrinkles on her face. She kept a smiling expression and looked like an ordinary old lady next door. But her eyes were bright. Sunan speculated that she should be a wizard of the curse school who was good at curse magic. Of course, she might also be good at some spells of the transformation school. The petrified witch glanced at Vasily and Sunan. Then her eyes lit up and she smiled. You are really amazing. At the beginning of the magic tide, when the magic power is so thin, you can use magic power to create such a powerful life. You are really a powerful wizard of the psychic school. If I didn't feel something was wrong and carefully identified the death breath of the death knight next to you, and the potential spiritual connection between him and you, I'm afraid that I would be misled. Sunan looked at the petrified witch in surprise. She is obviously a wizard who is more powerful and has a deeper foundation than Guken. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 69 book bar publishes a novel. Read at 69 book bar. This guy saw at a glance the true relationship between himself and Vasily. Moreover, her mental power, the scan data is actually 100, and his mental power is only 62.02. In other words, in terms of mental power, the petrified witch in front of him has already met the standard of becoming a first-ring wizard. It's just that I don't know whether she is stuck on the first ring magic or the wizard tower. Of course, it may also be because of the magic tide, which has just been summoned back. At present, it is hard to say whether this land can support a first ring wizard. When the petrified witch said this, world, chariot, justice and priestess all looked at Sunan. They didn't expect that Vasily was actually a death knight created by Sunan. Sunan also secretly checked the mental power and mana levels of these 4. Although only looking at the panel data of mental power and mana cannot objectively evaluate a wizard's magic ability, it can also explain some problems. World is a first-class wizard apprentice in herbalism, and her mental power is 70. Priestess mental power is only 50. Chariot has a mental power of 60, but Justice has a mental power of at least 80. It seems that the regulars of the petrified witch's gathering are at least at the level of first-class wizard apprentices. According to the meaning of the Justice Witch, those wizards who don't come here often should be ordinary first-class wizard apprentices, so they can't bring anything good. Because they lack the ability to trade, they don't come here every time. They can only save up magic resources for a period of time, and then come to this market to exchange some magic resources they can use. The petrified witch smiled at Sunan and said, most wizards don't want to reveal their location and identity in reality. After all, once people know about it, it is likely to become information for others to trade magic resources. Therefore, all of us will choose a code name from a tarot card and wear a corresponding mask. When trading, we will use the code name to address each other. When you choose a code name, you can choose a code name that is similar to the direction of magic you are studying. This way, it is easier for others to remember the type of magic resources you want to trade, or the category of magic resources you need. The trading of our gathering is also divided into 3 stages. The first stage is to let everyone who meets once a month introduce the anecdotes they have encountered. People who take the initiative to introduce anecdotes can exchange a magic stone from me. Sunan immediately understood what the petrified witch was doing. This is a way for her to collect intelligence, although some anecdotes are useless. But the petrified witch probably uses this method to judge whether there are magic resources in those anecdotes that can help her become a formal wizard. But what is the magic stone? Sunan did not hesitate and asked the petrified witch directly, "What is the philosopher's stone?" The witch from the herbal world also said that a glimmer potion must be exchanged for the philosopher's stone. The petrified witch was stunned for a moment, then laughed. "I'm a little surprised that a powerful wizard like you does not know what the philosopher's stone is. The philosopher's stone is a natural mineral vein. It is a crystal object with magic residue that stays in some earth veins when the magic tide recedes. Later, it was discovered by the scraps of the orthodox wizard society like me who were forced to stay on this land. By crushing the philosopher's stone, you can absorb the magic energy in it and replenish your own magic power loss, or use the philosopher's stone to maintain your magic in the years before the magic tide came." The petrified witch explained. "Even now, the philosopher's stone is very useful. Absorbing the magic energy in the philosopher's stone can speed up the efficiency of learning meditation. So, it has become a common currency among wizards." Chapter 152 Exchange of Anecdotes. Sunan nodded. "So that's what happened." Sunan said, "Then I will choose the moon and the tarot card. I just don't know if this option has been chosen by the wizards." The petrified witch smiled and said, "No. There is no wizard in our gathering who is good at the moon. Moon, the 2 hounds you carry, are also very interesting. On behalf of the gathering of petrified witches, I welcome you." The petrified witch said, "Now we will start the first stage of the transaction. Do you have any anecdotes to tell? Anything is fine. 1 magic stone is just the most basic reward. If I think this anecdote is very valuable, I will pay extra magic stones." The 4 wizards began to consider whether they should tell some anecdotes. After all, although the magic stone is very precious, telling something that happened to them may expose their identities and positions in reality. Perhaps because Sunan said that he didn't know what the magic stone was, the wizards in the witch gathering stopped paying attention to him. After all, no matter how good Sunan's psychic magic is, if he doesn't even know about the philosopher's stone, it means that Sunan is out of touch with the news and has very little contact with the wizards. It is very likely that he can't produce any valuable magic resources. The petrified witch looked around and saw that they didn't want to talk, so she set her sights on Sunan. "Moon, this is your first time attending the gathering, so you may still have a lot of precious stories. Do you want to take them out and exchange them for the philosopher's stone? The philosopher's stone is a very useful resource. After enjoying the use of the philosopher's stone to meditate once, all wizards will rely on it. It's not that it's addictive, but no wizard will endure such a slow meditation again." Sunan thought about it, but felt that it would be better not to do such a thing. He was a newcomer and didn't know much about the wizards at the gathering. Telling his story to exchange for the philosopher's stone would easily put him in a passive position. Besides, he was not without something to trade. There was no need to do such a thing as selling his information. Sunan shook his head at the petrified witch who presided over the transaction. "Forget it. My life is rather monotonous and there is nothing interesting." The petrified witch smiled and nodded. "That's a pity." At the same time, the priestess witch suddenly said, "Since no one wants to talk, let me tell you a strange story I encountered recently." The petrified witch made a gesture of asking to speak. The priestess witch said, "Everyone knows that there are hundreds of small kingdoms within the Holy United Empire. The territories are scattered, there are many lords, and the beliefs are complicated. In addition, there are countless independent knights and independent towns." Sunan glanced at her. Indeed, the Holy United Empire in the West is a model of feudalism compared to the Storm Kingdom. The so-called Lord of the Lord is not my lord, but the Holy United Empire in the West. Similarly, the Holy United Empire may be the largest country on the human side of the Order God system. It is also the motherland of the Storm Knights. The priestess said, "Just a week ago, I encountered such an incident when I passed through a county called Flanders in the middle of the Holy United Empire. There was a civilian daughter who died, but her poor parents could not accept the death of their daughter. They entered the Church of the God of Order in the hope that their child could be resurrected, so they prayed in different churches of the God of Order, but to no avail." The petrified witch took a quick look at Sunan. Sunan immediately reacted. As the host of this gathering, the petrified witch should be able to tell which region these people came from to enter this special space. The county of Flanders is the home of most of the Stormlords of the Storm Kingdom, and the royal family is from the Earldom of Flanders, a branch of the Flanders family. Therefore, the petrified witch looked at her specially, because she knew that she was probably from the Storm Kingdom. The Holy United Empire is the cultural root of all Stormlords. These people came to the current land across the sea and established a new country to obtain a higher status. According to the teachings of the God of Order, just as there is only one sun in the sky, there can only be one empire and one emperor on earth. Therefore, according to the definition of the Order Church, only the Holy United Empire is the only empire in the world, and other countries are kingdoms at most, and the rulers are only kings. Of course, the Eastern Human Empire is another imperial system, so the Eastern Human Empire is incompatible with the Western countries under the Holy United Empire system. There is another important reason. The God of Law was originally the God King of the Order God system, but later, the God War broke out in the Order God system. The current God King of the Order God system is the God of Faith God who controls all beliefs. The priestess witch continued, it is a prohibition in magic to resurrect the dead completely. Death must take away something, no matter how small this thing is. The error-free version is read at 69 book bar. 69 book bar first publishes a novel. 69 book bar read I think the moon must understand this better than the rest of us. He should have negotiated with death himself and made a death contract. The wizards looked at Sunan at the same time. The priestess witch continued, I originally thought that the civilian couple was just fanciful. But what I didn't expect was that when I was leaving the Earldom of Flanders, I was sitting in a carriage and saw the girl who died tragically yesterday, now jumping around beside her parents. I immediately asked the driver to stop, and then I asked these mortals why they resurrected the dead. These mortals were very scared of my questions, probably because they were afraid that I would report them to the church. They just hurriedly told me that they prayed to an underground church called the Supreme Church, and as a result, their girl was resurrected the next day, and they also joined the Supreme Church. Sunan raised his eyebrows speechlessly. After all this time, it turned out to be those cultists, but that should not be a real resurrection. Sunan suspected that those cultists just use the lower creatures of the energy world to possess the little girl. This kind of pretending to be a successful resurrection is not difficult for the people of the Supreme Church. After hearing this, the petrified witch immediately handed the priestess witch 2 universal magic stones. The priestess witch was a little surprised. Is my story worth so many magic stones? The petrified witch smiled and said, of course it is worth it. I have encountered those supreme cults you mentioned twice before. I think that should not be a real resurrection. It must be something that possessed the girl's body and pretended to the poor civilian couple that it was their girl. This is a common method used by those cultists to attract believers and make them sacrifice themselves voluntarily. They have an item called sad flower, which is very useful to me. I was just worried about where to find them. These guys are like earthworms underground, hard to catch. You told me where they might appear. This is really useful for me. Chapter 153, Terrifying Black Magic. Town of the Dead. In the storm. Probably because the priestess witch took the initiative to speak, the justice witch, who had been silent before, also spoke up at this moment. In that case, let me also tell you about the strange things I encountered recently. The petrified witch said, please go ahead. The world witch, who is good at herbology, said, great, I can listen to an interesting story for free again. The old wizard chariot said, this can be regarded as a benefit and feature of our gathering. Sunan realized that this link was also a benefit specially set up by the petrified witch to attract wizards to come to her gathering often. The justice witch said, just 3 days before I attended this gathering, I passed by Corfu Island in the Storm Kingdom. I went to Corfu Island for my own business, but when I was in the town of Corfu Island, passing by Corfu Island's famous 200-meter high wonder of the world, the statue of the God of Law, I suddenly realized that the reflection of the statue at noon should be deflected by another 3 degrees. When I realized this, I immediately stood in front of the statue, and I found that my shadow was indeed not parallel to the shadow of the huge statue of the God of Law. Then I realized that the shadow of the statue must have been interfered with by something, so it was deflected at a certain angle. Everyone was gradually attracted by the story of the Justice Witch. The Justice Witch said, "I started a day-long research, and it turned out that I was right. The shadow of the statue was tampered by a wizard. The wizard hid a small town that belonged to him in the shadow of the statue of that wonder of the world. After I used a special method to enter it, I was repeatedly attacked by the guards of that town. There was even a skeleton dragon among those guards. I guess it should be a wizard who is proficient in necromancy. That town should be the place where the necromancer stores his undead soldiers. But for some reason, he hid his magic town in the shadow of the Corfu statue and never went back. Maybe he encountered some kind of accident. It's interesting that the humans in that town have reproduced from generation to generation. But their worldview is only as big as the town. Even if I explained to them that it was just a small town and there was a bigger world outside the town, the humans in that town were unwilling to believe me. And they were full of hostility towards me." The petrified witch interrupted. "The skeleton dragon is equivalent to a 0.9 ring existence, very close to a first ring wizard. If that's true, the original owner of that town should be a first ring necromancer." The Justice Witch nodded and said, "That's what I guessed. It's a huge treasure house. Even if it's not a formal wizard's wizard tower, it's also an important town for the necromancer to store his undead soldiers. But there are a large number of undead soldiers and undead guards in the town. I can't conquer the wizard's ruins with my own strength. So the purpose of my coming to the gathering this time is to trade for more powerful magic resources. Also, ask if there are any wizards willing to develop the wizard's ruins with me. But you need to have enough strength. If you are not strong enough, you will be courting death if you go there." I also escaped from there with a narrow escape. In addition to the skeleton dragon, there are also a large number of high-level undead guards. Everyone will share the things you find, but I won't pay you. This is at most everyone taking what they need, not an employment relationship." The Justice Witch added, "I remind you that once you enter that town, you will be cursed by the magic there. You either conquer that town, or become a ghost of that town after you die. Magical curses will hasten our death." The Justice Witch pulled back her sleeves, revealing a skull symbol on her arm under her sleeves. All the wizards felt a vicious curse from that symbol. It was not an ordinary curse magic, but a special black magic belonging to the category of undead magic. It seems that the necromancer should mainly go in the direction of black magic. Sunan raised his eyebrows. "So that's why the Justice Witch said it so frankly. The reason is that her most important interest now is not even to plunder the spoils of that town, but to conquer that town, or find a wizard who is capable of conquering that town. Otherwise, she will die." The petrified witch handed her 5 universal magic stones on the spot, and then said, "This is indeed a very interesting and valuable story. Unfortunately, although I also study curse magic, to advance to a formal wizard, you either go in the direction of curse magic or the direction of transfiguration magic, but the black magic and the necromancy magic is not very helpful to me, so I will not participate in this matter." The petrified witch was very cunning. She was too lazy to participate in a town where she would be cursed as soon as she entered. She lacked magic resources to become a formal wizard, not to rush to die. Unless there were magic resources that were clearly helpful to her, she would never take the risk in person. The petrified witch smiled and said, "Then I look forward to justice to capture that town, and then take the resources in that town to the gathering for trading. This is the meaning of our gathering. Justice will definitely be able to do it. If there are wizards who want to participate, you can also participate now." Sunan nodded secretly. The gathering organized by the petrified witch is a very smart move. In this way, within her limited time, she could trade for the treasures obtained by wizards everywhere. The petrified witch looked around and found that no one had any anecdotes to tell, and no one was willing to join the strategy of the magic town mentioned by Justice. The error-free version is available at 69 Book Bar. 69 Book Bar publishes a novel for the first time. Everyone was frightened by the terrible black magic and the skeleton dragon. Unless it was a wizard who happened to be heading in this direction, no one would be willing to risk their lives like this. Seeing this scene, the Justice Witch could only sigh, but she was not very optimistic about it in the first place, and did not think that she could really find a wizard to accompany her to take this risk. So what she really looked forward to was the third stage of this witch gathering. She wanted to trade for more magic consumables, increase her ability to save her life, and then enter the town of the necromancer again. The petrified witch waited for a while, and seeing that no one continued to communicate, she said, "Then we will enter the second stage, the intelligence trading stage. In this stage, everyone can tell the intelligence they want to get. If there is a wizard present who knows this intelligence, they can establish a separate transaction. No need to tell it. Any intelligence is fine, from a person's identity information, magic strengths and weaknesses, to the identification of magic item, or the information about a magic item." Immediately, the world witch said to the old wizard chariot, "I have a pair of magic gloves that need to be identified, and I don't know their specific functions. In return, I can give you a bottle of glimmer potion. What do you think?" The old wizard chariot is best at identification, so this link is the most important link in the gathering. He can use identification to exchange for some resources in this link. The old wizard chariot said, "Okay, but can you give me 2 bottles of glimmer potions as my hard work fee? After all, doing comprehensive identification work is very tiring." The world witch refused. "No, you can only trade 1 bottle of glimmer potion. My glimmer potion is more precious. I've already lost money by doing this deal with you." The old wizard chariot sighed. "Okay then. Give me that pair of gloves. I'll help you identify them now, and then I'll write down the results and give them to you." He had no choice. After all, he really needed the glimmer potion, and this kind of potion can only be prepared by the world witch. At the same time, the priestess witch also asked the old wizard chariot to identify a magic item for her, and the transaction was for universal magic stones. Sunan didn't have any magic items that needed to be identified for the time being, and there was no information he needed to know. Some things Sunan also knew it would be useless to ask. After all, it was just a gathering of first-class wizard apprentices, so he remained silent throughout this stage. Seeing that no one was talking during the second phase and that all the transactions were completed, the petrified witch smiled and said, "The next step is the magic resource transaction that everyone is looking forward to. I hope that the things you prepare for the transaction this time will be eye-catching." Chapter 154, Glimmer Potion in the Blood of the Kimura Crawling Lizard. Amid the thunder of the storm, the world witch was the first to speak. This was the part she valued the most. After all, the main purpose of her coming to this market was to sell her herbal medicine potions. The world witch spoke directly. "I have recently prepared a lot of glimmer potions. In addition to the amount I need to use, I have 4 more bottles. 1 bottle has been traded with the old wizard of the chariot. Now there are 3 bottles left. You can start bidding." The world witch glanced at Sunan and introduced briefly and impatiently, "Glimmer potion is a potion that can increase the efficiency of meditation, so there is no drug resistance. At least not at the first class wizard apprentice stage. It's just that the efficiency of each increase is very low, about only 1% minus 2%, and each time the effect can last for a month. But even so, even if it is only increased by 1%, it is a good harvest accumulated over the years. This is the potion formula I got from an herbal wizard in the library, left in this land." Sunan nodded. "Indeed. It seems that it is quite meaningful for me to participate in this witch gathering. I can get in touch with many wizard resources. If I can get this glimmer potion, analyze and optimize the formula, I should get a better potion to improve my mental power. Moreover, it can also solve the problem of my mental power increasing from 62 to 100. The priestess reluctantly said to the world witch, "I will offer 4 ordinary magic stones for 1 bottle." Justice quickly said, "I will also offer 4 magic stones. If possible, I want the remaining 2 bottles. She will enter the undead town of Corfu Island, and she will definitely need glimmer potion to improve the efficiency of meditation, because it is not only useful in training, but also in combat. It can improve the efficiency of meditation, just like an athlete improving his breathing efficiency, which can slightly increase the performance of casting." The old wizard chariot already passed the appraisal and had a bottle, so he did not bid. The petrified witch's mental power is already 100. Before becoming a first ring wizard, there is no way to improve her mental power, so she did not bid. The witch of the world frowned somewhat unsatisfiedly. Originally, according to her idea, she could harvest a wave of members of this witch gathering by selling the glimmer potion, a herb with high processing added value. But in rounds of bidding, the price of her glimmer potion has been basically fixed, and it is difficult to get much increase. Basically, after the members of these witch gatherings suffered losses several times, they will form a tacit understanding, and will not bid against each other, and raise the price of glimmer potion out of thin air. In addition to selling glimmer potion to the members of this gathering, the world can't find any other sales channels. After all, glimmer potion is almost only useful for wizards. Sunan suddenly spoke up and said to the world in justice, "Why don't we each have one bottle? I want to buy one too. Just one bottle will do." With just one bottle of glimmer potion, Sunan can reverse the formula and optimize it to a better one. Besides taking it himself, he might even be able to sell it in this market. Anyway, glimmer potion has become famous in this market. There should be many wizards who want to buy it. The Witch of Justice looked at Sunan in surprise. She wanted to say something, but suddenly looked at the Death Knight beside Sunan and shut up. The wizard town on Corfu Island is probably a town of wizards from the School of Psychic. It would have been fine if there were no wizards from the School of Psychic in the gathering before, but now there is finally one, and he is a relatively powerful necromancer. She naturally does not want to offend Sunan in this situation. Even if Sunan will not go to the town of the dead with her, it is also good that she can ask Sunan for some advice on how to deal with the magic of the dead. Therefore, the Witch of Justice did not speak. The Witch of the World looked at Sunan in surprise. "You, Moon, do you have so many magic stones? If you want me to give you a bottle suddenly, you need at least 5 magic stones or something of equal value. Otherwise, I can just sell it to old customers. Why should I sell it to you alone? When you become my old customer in the future, you can use 4 magic stones to buy the glimmer potion in my hand." World actually wants to make as much money as possible. After all, it costs her a lot of money to develop and prepare these herbs, but if she wants to be promoted to a formal wizard, she has to sink into this path. Although this path makes money, it is also very expensive to study. Sunan smiled. Although he was a little disgusted with World's apostrophe behavior of raising the price on the spot, he could accept it, because he only needed a bottle of glimmer potion and he could produce it himself from now on. After all, you can learn the skills of others, so it doesn't seem to be a big deal to pay a little more magic stones. Sunan said, "I don't have the Philosopher's Stone now, but that doesn't mean I won't have it later." Before the world could speak, Sunan asked Wolf to fetch a glass bottle of blood. Sunan opened the glass bottle, and the special smell of the Comoran crawling lizard immediately spread into the air. These were all things that Sunan extracted from the blood of the dead lizardmen. Those lizardmen were a magically transformed race, so there must be their prototypes and special magical creatures involved in the transformation. Sunan slightly modified the formula of the previous Blood Warlock Essence Extraction Potion, and changed it to the Lizardman Blood Essence Extraction Potion, and then extracted the blood of the Comoran crawling lizard in their blood. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 69 book bar publishes a novel for the first time. Liu book bar reading Sunan compared it with the dragon blood characteristics recorded in the Oak Wizard's book, and judged that this Comoran crawling lizard actually contains a very thin trace of dragon blood. Therefore, this thing is also a good material for refining potions for himself, but because the Storm Kingdom has an entrance to the underground world, for other Storm Lords, this is simply a disaster. But for Sunan, it is equivalent to having a unique resource in trance. If you want the blood of this Comoran crawling lizard, you can go into the underground world and hunt the so-called main city creatures. So, Sunan took it out for trading. Sunan said to the World Witch, "Can I use 5 bottles of Comoran crawling lizard blood to exchange for your glimmer potion?" 1 bottle of Comoran crawling lizard blood requires the blood of at least 10 lizardmen to be extracted. 5 bottles, that is 50. Sunan himself currently has only 6 bottles, and if he takes it out for trading, there will be only 1 bottle left. When the World Witch saw Sunan take out the blood of magical animals, her attitude softened immediately, because this proved that Sunan was valuable to the gathering, and not just trying to take advantage of the benefits of the witch gathering. But the World Witch shook her head and said, "We in herbalism only use herbs to prepare potions, and do not need to use the blood of magical creatures. In most cases, Therefore, I'm not interested in the blood of the Comoran crawling lizard in your hand, but you may be able to trade with other wizards, so that you can have enough magic stones. At this time, the petrified witch suddenly smiled and said, such pure Comoran crawling lizard blood, and there are traces of blood extraction and essence. What a superb technique. When did you necromancers become so good at refining biological blood? I just happen to be doing a magic experiment that requires dragon-like blood. How about this? In the future I can buy the Comoran crawling lizard blood in your hand at the price of 1.5 magic stones per bottle. That's great. Our fledgling witch gathering now has another master of blood extraction. If it were more than 2000 years ago, Moon, you could live a comfortable life with just this blood extraction technology. Unfortunately, now everyone is in this extremely poor era. Sunan completed the deal with the petrified witch and said, the era of prosperity will soon come. The magic tide has returned. The petrified witch hesitated. Has it returned? Yes, it has returned. But along with the magic tide, the energy world that drove away the orthodox wizard civilization more than 2000 years ago has also returned. Chapter 155. Wilderness Curse. Justice, Chariot and the priestess did not intervene. Chariot seemed to be very good at magic identification. Sunan suspected that he might be the kind of scholar who studied the history of magic as recorded in the diary of Oak Wizard. In the Orthodox Wizard Society more than 2000 years ago, because there were too many magic categories and directions, even high-level wizards said frankly that new magic categories were produced every day in the Orthodox Wizard Society at that time, and several magic categories lost their successors every day, because there was no one to inherit, and no competitive advantage. So they disappeared. In this situation, a kind of wizard who was trained in a targeted way appeared. Wizards who specialized in the history of magic. Wizards of the Magic History School are good at general studies, magic identification and general magic. Although he did not study magic in each field in depth, he had some basics, and was a jack-of-all-trades character who knew a little about multiple magic fields. If the old wizard Chariot was really a wizard apprentice in this direction, it would be very useful to Sunan. In the future, when exchanging information, if you encounter something you have not understood, you can ask him. As for the Witch of Justice and the Witch of Priestess, it is not clear what they are good at for the time being, but when they propose a deal later, Sunan should be able to understand the types of magic they are good at. The Witch of Justice looked at everyone and said, I have a paralysis enchantment ring in my hand. I don't need the magic stone. I want a magic item related to dark energy in exchange. Sunan looked at the Witch of Justice. It seems that she is a witch who specializes in the dark energy direction of the School of Shaping. Speaking of which, the magic used by the drow warrior on the mountain, that he saw through the insect swarm, before was also dark energy. Dark energy and other magic, in the low ring stage, is generally enchanted on some kind of weapon. According to the diary of the Oak Wizard, this seems to be because dark energy is different from the element of earth, water, fire and wind. It is more convergent and dissipates faster in the air. If the four elements of earth, water, fire and wind dissipate in the air at a unit speed after leaving the wizard, then the dissipation speed of dark energy is the square of this unit speed. Therefore, in the apprentice stage, few wizards can directly use dark energy to attack the enemy's magic. Sunan reacted, so Justice should be a melee wizard who holds a weapon like a big sword and slashes everywhere. Although Sunan also wanted the paralysis enchantment ring, it was a pity that he did not have any magic items or magic scrolls related to dark energy magic. In the end, it was the priestess who took out a magic item called Dark Energy Incense Burner and made a deal with Justice. According to the priestess, the Dark Energy Incense Burner in her hand was bought by her accidentally from an antique dealer. This incense burner must be ignited with dark magic, and it can summon a law knight sealed in the dark energy space inside the incense burner. This dark energy knight can probably provide a certain degree of combat power, although the combat power is not too strong. Fortunately, even if he is killed, he can be summoned again by paying a small amount of dark energy magic. For most wizard apprentices, the only thing that can protect themselves is a simple magic shield, so it is still necessary to have some melee fighters blocking in front. Then the priestess took out a magic scroll of 0.5 ring fireball. This fireball is a standard magic of the evocation school, and it is a must-learn magic for wizard apprentices who specialize in fire magic. The chariot also took out a magic necklace enchanted with flame ring shield. However, this magic necklace can only unfold a magic shield of the level of a second-class senior wizard apprentice, which is dispensable for these senior first-class wizard apprentices. Justice immediately took action and bought the 0.5 ring fireball magic scroll from the priestess at the price of 3 magic stones and used another magic stone to buy the flame ring shield magic necklace from the old wizard of the chariot. She was probably anxious, so she started to take out all her belongings and frantically wanted to buy these things that could increase combat effectiveness. Then, she spent another 4 magic stones to buy a dark energy obsidian ritual dagger from the petrified witch. The dagger was also enchanted with a 0.5 ring of dark energy poison magic. In this way, several rounds of transactions were carried out. After the Justice Witch took out a magic scroll called Wild Romance, Sunan immediately focused on it. The Justice Witch introduced, "This Wild Romance is a first ring spell model I found. It is a beast taming magic in the summoning school. But because this magic is not in line with me, I only have reference, research, and collection value for it. Now I take it out to exchange for some powerful magic items. I don't want magic stones." Sunan knew that she was going to take out all her belongings and fight for her life. Therefore, she was willing to take out this first ring spell model for trading. But unexpectedly, this first ring spell model did not attract much attention, and it was not even as popular as when she took out the paralysis ring. The World Witch commented, "Although it is a first level spell model, I'm good at herbalism. Although it is very high to get a first level spell model, it must be very expensive. If that's the case, there is no wizard who is good at summoning here. Half a year ago, there was a wizard who might be good at summoning. Unfortunately, that guy has just been promoted to a first level wizard apprentice. I don't think he has anything good, and he hasn't been here for half a year. TSK, 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 Justice, I disappoint you. I think no one is willing to trade this thing of yours." The chariot and the priestess nodded. The petrified witch obviously wanted to buy the first level spell model, but she was observing and hesitating. After all, it was from the summoning school, not the curse school or the transfiguration school. But it was a first level spell model. If she was asked to pay a high price to buy it, she would definitely not be willing. Justice was obviously disappointed and sighed. Sunan suddenly asked, "Zengai, can you tell me about the spell effects of your first level spells of the summoning school?" Read the error-free version at 69 Bookbar. 69 Bookbar publishes a novel first. Liujiu Bookbar Du Zengai looked at Sunan, and thinking of the blood of the Kimura crawling lizard that he had taken out before, he began to explain. The Wild Romance spell is a magic that allows wizards of the summoning school to enhance their own magic and the army of summoned creatures. This Wild Romance spell is very magical. It can produce a spell effect called Natural Breath Connection, based on the summons and magic armies owned by the wizard, which can enhance certain aspects of the wizard's own abilities. The wizard can also move this enhancement terminal to a summoned creature that has established a deep connection with him, and the way of enhancement is different. Generally speaking, for example, if the wizard establishes a natural breath connection with a 3-headed earth bear, then the wizard will be enhanced in strength. If the wizard establishes a natural breath connection with a moose, it is likely that the wizard will be enhanced in endurance or speed. Different magical species produce different effects of the natural breath connection. Even the wilderness wizard who created it believes that it has infinite potential and can produce different effects in the hands of different wizards. In fact, if the path of the wild wizard had not come to an end, he could have continued to strengthen this spell. But if there are only 1 or 2 summons, the bonus effect of this spell will be very small. And this is a first level spell after all. We can't learn it at all. The Justice Witch obviously still had some conscience. She said to Sunan bluntly, "Unless you are a wizard apprentice specializing in the summoning school, there is no hope of learning it." Sunan has noticed that the character of the World Witch is very mean. At this time, the World Witch chuckled and said, "That's why I said that your first level spell model can't be sold at all. No matter how good the product is, it is useless if people don't need it. Justice, if you want to get more powerful magic resources, I can give you an idea. I just need a wizard assistant recently. If you can help me, maybe. Sunan thought about it and said, I'll buy it. Are you kidding? Among all the wizard apprentices present, who has more magic creatures? Gargoyle core, scarab swarm core, werewolf core, death knight core, ground golem core, ghost core, and soon there will be tree guard core. Moreover, he can use his brain to analyze the useful parts of this first level spell. This wild romance may be useless to other wizard apprentices, but it is very useful to him. The world witch frowned in dissatisfaction. What? Moon, are you crazy? You are a necromancer, buying a first level spell from someone else's summoning school. You are really wasting resources. She was a little dissatisfied. Maybe she really wanted to exploit Justice while she was in crisis. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 156. Nowadays, everyone knows a little bit about everything. Justice said in a deep voice, are you sure? I mean, this wild romance curse is not quite in line with your main magic direction. Of course, my conditions remain unchanged. My condition is that you must give me one or several powerful magic items of equal value. I don't need the Philosopher's Stone, nor do I need the blood of magical creatures. Sunan nodded. This was not a difficult task. He had a bunch of offensive potions. He snapped his fingers, and immediately Wolf Big and Wolf 2 took a bottle of Fireball potion and a bottle of Firefly potion from the carriage not far away. Although the Fireball potion of the two potions could not be completely refined by the wizard Sunday, he did the preliminary preparations, and he was still doing the preliminary preparations until now, so Sunan configured the Fireball potion very quickly. Sunan also followed Solan's idea of modular manufacturing and asked Sunday to make bottles of semi-finished products in advance, and he could directly use these semi-finished products to refine complete potions. When the herbal wizard apprentice world saw Sunan take out the potion bottle, he was surprised and wary and said, Moon, are you also good at preparing potions? Sunan said vaguely, not bad. After all, in this day and age, everyone is far away from the mainstream wizard society and needs to know a little bit about everything. World said dissatisfiedly, you guy. What kind of potion preparation are you good at? Is it the enchanted potion that keeps the magic in the potion? If that's the case, it's not. There is a conflict with her. This kind of potion is generally offensive, which is a parallel direction of enchantment scrolls. In the Orthodox Wizard Society more than 2000 years ago, it was also another development direction of magic scrolls. The cost was lower than that of normal magic scrolls, but magic scrolls had some minor comprehensive advantages, so magic scrolls were still the mainstream at that time. World swept the wooden mask on Sunan's face. If that was the case, it would explain why Sunan, a necromancer from the school of spiritualism, could prepare potions. Because these potions are all offensive magic. Justice, Chariot and the priestess looked at Sunan in surprise. They didn't expect that Sunan would actually sell potions here. Sunan looked at the petrified witch and asked, can I experiment with the attack effect of my potion here? The petrified witch smiled and said, of course. But in fact, as long as you describe the effect and show the corresponding magic fluctuations, we can determine the approximate effect of this potion. You don't need to waste a bottle of potion at all. But this special space where I summoned you is essentially a world that mixes the material world and the secret world in a ratio of 7:3. Therefore, 70% of this is the material world and 30% is the secret world. This place, which I call Petrified Witch's Gathering Space, can withstand magic attacks with an intensity of less than 0.9 rings. This is a little trick of my curse magic. Sunan suddenly realized that this trading place maintained by the Petrified Witch was essentially achieved through the method of curse. Sunan immediately thought of the second question. The reason why this curse magic was so easy to achieve on all of them was probably because this curse magic was harmless to everyone. Because it was harmless, it could be cursed on every first class wizard apprentice, and then brought into this mixed space in the form of curse. Moreover, the way the petrified witch used the secret world was also very interesting. As expected of an old wizard who had reached the first level of the first ring more than 2000 years ago, her magic was indeed very profound. At the same time, Sunan also understood how powerful the curse magic of the necromancer in the town in the shadow of the statue wonder of Corfu Island was. Obviously, it was so harmful to people, but the curse conditions were so low. As long as you enter his town, it is equivalent to accepting his curse. No wonder, when the petrified witch heard this, she didn't even think about it, and said directly that she would not go to that undead town. Only she, as a master of curse magic, knew how terrible the necromancer's magic was. Sunan shook his head. No, only by showing them can you better understand the effect of my potions. Moreover, these potions are all potions that have been eliminated for N generations and have been sublimated from the first to the second time. I have a lot of them, otherwise I would not have used them to bomb cement town before. As for the potions that have been sublimated 3 times, I will not sell them for the time being. When I have potions that have been sublimated 4 times, I will sell these outdated potions to my friends in this market in exchange for better magic resources. It would be nice. Sunan and the intelligent brain had discovered before that due to the huge gap between formal wizards and first-class wizard apprentices, even 4 sublimations may not reach the level of formal wizards. 4 sublimations are estimated to be a level that exceeds ordinary senior first-class wizard apprentices, but is still below the level of formal wizards. According to the understanding of wizards, it is probably above the 0.8 ring and below the first ring. Formal wizards are likely to be at the level of potions that have been sublimated 5 times. Sunan threw the fireball magic potion and the firefly magic potion into the distance of this space, and suddenly 2 magic explosions occurred in the distance. One was a fire magic explosion, and the other was a fire magic attached to the stone, and began to burn the stone. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 69 book bar publishes a novel for the first time. Sunan said, "This is the fireball insect potion and the firefly potion I made." The petrified witch smiled and said, "The strength of your fireball insect potion is at 0.5 rings, and the strength of your firefly potion is about 0.3 rings. They are both good things. The power is enough for us first-class apprentices to use in battle. We can implement some tactics of harassing and misleading the enemy. If the battle is exhausted, the meaning of these potions will be different. Maybe it is the key to determine the victory or defeat. The approximate value of your fireball insect potion is 3 magic stones, and the value of your firefly potion is about half a magic stone." Sunan realized that the petrified witch was helping him introduce his potion to everyone, and even a little bit of her intention to help him sell it. After all, the petrified witch was the organizer of this gathering, and helping the members of the witch gathering sell things was also her responsibility in a sense. After hearing this, the old wizard of the chariot said, "These are indeed very useful magic items. We wizards can all stock up some. This kind of consumables may be very useful if we encounter an unfortunate war of attrition with some wizards one day. But how come I have never known these 2 potions, and I have never even heard of them? Moon, which ruins did you dig these potions from? More than 2000 years ago, he should have been a famous potion wizard." Sunan raised his eyebrows. "Well, it's just a formula I accidentally found in a certain ruin. These are all his own potion formulas, and the chariot naturally cannot get the information about their existence from the magic book. But there is no need for him to be high profile." The Witch of Justice looked at Sunan with a sharp gaze. The 2 potions that Sunan took out were particularly valuable to her, especially the fireball insect potion, and the firefly potion's attachment and combustion characteristics may have miraculous effect on the skeleton type undead soldiers. Then, let me think about how many fireball insect potions I want to exchange for my first level spell model. Sunan raised his eyebrows and glanced at the wizards in the gathering. "Justice, don't be in a hurry. Take a look at all the potions I want to sell first, then you can choose. Wolf, wolf, help me get the ghost summon frog, ghost summon wild wolf, ghost ghost, ghost summon night squire potions, and the exploding bug potion." Immediately, Wolf and Wolf began to drag a wooden box down from the carriage. Sunan opened the wooden box, revealing a dazzling array of potions inside. Justice, the petrified witch, the priestess, the world and the chariot were all stunned. Chapter 157, Big Harvest. Obtained action bullet, boiling blood, and flame fang meditation method. As Sunan showed his discarded potions one by one, Zengai and others, even the petrified witch, were a little surprised. After Sunan finished showing them, the Justice Witch couldn't wait to tell her choice. 5 bottles of explosive bug potion, 5 bottles of fireball bug potion, 3 bottles of ghost summoning wild wolf, 1 bottle of firefly potion, and I will give you this first level spell. Do you think it's okay? The world witch was a little unhappy, so she said aside, Justice, you want too much. No one wants your first level spell model. Moon wants to buy it, which is a big profit for you. You still want so many moon potions. It's not easy for others to refine these potions. Do you think we make these potions with our eyes closed? They all require a high degree of mental concentration, right, Moon? Sunan said perfunctorily to her, HMM. He didn't know how the world usually prepared potions, but the problem was that most of the potions that Zengai wanted were really made with his eyes closed. No wonder the cultists were surprised by the bombing of Cement Town. It seemed that for a wizard apprentice, it was a bit out of character to take out so many explosive insects and other fire potions to carry out magic bombing. Sunan said to the witch Justice, I agree to the exchange. Justice said softly, thank you. After all, she knew that if Sunan wanted to lower the price, she could still lower it. She was also very nervous about this, fearing that Sunan would take advantage of her like the world. After all, before this, her main impression of all wizards who could prepare potions came from the world. She thought that these wizards who could prepare potions all had personalities similar to the world. Justice completed the exchange with Sunan, and the world snorted. At the same time, the chariot seemed to be happy to buy the potion, but he thought about it and felt that he didn't need to fight, so he shouldn't buy such things for combat. His magic stone was not blown by the wind. At the same time, the priestess used 3 magic stones to buy a bottle of fireball insect potion from Sunan, and the petrified witch spent 6 magic stones to buy 2 bottles of fireball insect potion from Sunan. These senior wizard apprentices have unique vision and can tell what is a good thing at a glance. Sunan's fireball insect is actually different from ordinary fireball spells or fireball spell scrolls. That is, when attacking the enemy, Sunan's fireball insect can actually have a certain aiming function and can make a certain turn when approaching the enemy. This greatly reduces the possibility of emptying this magic, and when attacking the enemy, you can choose the most advantageous attack position for yourself according to the situation. This potion, which was calculated and upgraded by the intelligent brain from the summoning secondary firefly spell, is essentially an optimized upper level version of the fireball spell. Finally, even the world couldn't help it, and spent 3 magic stones to buy a bottle of fireball insect potion from Sunan. In this way, Sunan has a total of 12.5 magic stones. He smiled and handed the stones in his hand, which were emitting a faint blue light and filled with arcane radiance energy, to Wolf 1 and Wolf 2, asking them to hold them in their mouths and put them into their carriages. Justice looked at Sunan and said, no wonder you wanted the wilderness curse. It turns out that you, Moon, have so many magical pets. Everyone took a closer look at Sunan. At this moment, the image of Sunan in their eyes was probably that of a powerful psychic wizard who could prepare a lot of magic potions and was also good at certain animal taming magic. This Sunan was too versatile. He knew so many things. Justice said, I also want to trade some of the fireball insect potion in your hand. This 0.5 ring consumable is very useful to me now. I see that you seem to be taking the direction of magic and also the direction of fire magic. I have 2 0.7 ring fire magic books, Action Bullet, and Boiling Blood, in my hand. Can I exchange them for 5 bottles of fireball insect potion? After a simple introduction by Justice, Sunan figured out that these 2 books were treasures that others had kept in their bottom boxes. Although they could not learn them themselves, it did not prevent them from collecting them. The reason was also because she was hit by the necromancer's black magic, so she simply took out her treasures from the bottom box for trading. Action bullet. This magic is 0.7 rings, forming a bullet-sized fire magic at the tip of her finger, and then shooting it out. It is like shooting a high concentration fire bullet. This bullet will explode when it falls into the enemy's abdomen. Sunan felt that the effect of this magic was really good. If he could learn it, he could also develop a lot of subsequent potions based on this spell using the intelligent brain. Moreover, if this thing is added to the hands of the werewolf warrior, it can enhance the power of the bow and arrow used by the werewolf warrior. Boiling blood is an ability to use fire magic to fill the body, make the blood in the body boil, and increase the function of the body. According to Justice, she originally wanted to learn this spell. After all, she is a melee dark energy mage, but unfortunately the ring number of this spell is too high. Before, she had no foundation in fire magic, and she could not learn this magic in a short time. Once she wasted too much time on this magic, she was afraid that it would affect her magic path towards becoming a formal wizard. However, she didn't care now. Her first goal now has become that she can survive. Sunan nodded. Yes, but if you have a meditation method for fire magic, I can give you 9 magic stones. It's 1 more magic stone for you. After all, without a matching meditation method for fire magic, the efficiency of forcibly using and learning fire magic will be very low. This is a meaningless practice that increases the difficulty of learning. Justice thought about it. I do have a meditation method for fire, which can be learned to the first class wizard apprentice stage. It's called Flame Fang Meditation Method. Sunan immediately said, deal. In this way, he came to this gathering and gained a lot. And his transaction is almost over. The reason why he didn't take out the mental power enhancement potion is that the low level mental power enhancement potion is useless for these current gathering regulars. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 69 book 1 bar publishes a novel for the first time. Read at 69 book bar their mental power is above 60. Therefore, it was very meaningful for me to buy a bottle of glimmer potion before, which meant that I could develop a third series of powerful mental power enhancement potions, and the formulas of my mental power enhancement +5 potion and the life essence concentration +2 potion were also being calculated. However, this did not mean that Sunan could not sell the low-level mental power enhancement potions. After all, there would be some wizards who were not regular customers at the market, and their mental power was probably only about 20, so I could sell them the mental power enhancement +3 potion. Even for wizards with only about 20 mental power, the mental power enhancement +2 potion could also play a role in the speed of their mental power increase. Therefore, Sunan could only wait until the next time he encountered leaks before starting to harvest. Probably because the amount of Sunan's transaction this time was very large, the petrified witch who had been watching all this silently on the side said to Sunan, "It seems that there will be another regular customer at our gathering. That's great. I like watching you young wizards. Your lives are colorful. You are far from the point where I have to worry about the limit of my lifespan every moment. It's great to be young. The moon, I have a batch here. I robbed a small half set of his magic inheritance from a former enemy of mine, who is also a first-class wizard apprentice of the psychic school. Do you want it? I think it will be very useful for the Death Knight next to you. The level of meditation learned by the Death Knight next to you is too low. This small half set of magic inheritance of mine includes a meditation method that is higher than the level of meditation he learned, as well as 2 0.7 ring psychic summoning magic and 3 0.5 ring psychic summoning magic." Sunan raised his eyebrows. If his Death Knight Vasilian could digest these things, he would really become a man who could raise an army of undead. But Sunan frowned and said, "But for the time being, I may not have so many magic stones to buy these things." Sunan paused, because the petrified witch was not unaware of his situation. But she still said this. "This means that the petrified witch has other requests." The petrified witch smiled and said, "You and the world are both wizards who can make potions. You have much more skills than those of us who can only study magic. So I want you to help me make a potion. This potion comes from the legendary Hearthstone witch, but the formula is a little incomplete. Even the world is not able to make it, but the medicinal properties are useful for me to advance to a formal wizard. I can provide you with all the materials. Take a look. Can you make it?" If you can make a bottle for me, I can give you that half set of magic inheritance. Even if you don't make it right away, as long as you are sure you can make it, it's fine. I have 3.5 sets of backup materials. Originally there were 4 sets, but last time the world wasted half of it. The petrified witch said this with some resentment, and the world witch was no longer arrogant, but coughed a few times, and then pretended not to hear this. Sunan glanced at the world, thinking that the world forced the petrified witch to make this potion, in order to get benefits, but ended up messing things up. The petrified witch probably thought that it was most important for her to become a formal wizard, so she didn't hide anything, and directly handed a parchment scroll to me. Moon, take a look. Chapter 158, Hearthstone Witch's Azure Potion and the True Meaning of a Formal Wizard. Sunan looked at the scroll, and immediately understood why the petrified witch needed someone to help her refine this potion. This potion, called the Azure Potion, is essentially a very useful potion for the wizard's mental state. It is a potion that every wizard must use when he is promoted to a formal wizard. It plays a role in stabilizing, concentrating, and replenishing mental power. It cannot increase the upper limit of mental power, but Sunan noticed from the description of the effect of the Azure Potion in this parchment scroll that, if a wizard takes it, before performing mental meditation, he can stabilize his mental power forever. This is equivalent to solving the phenomenon of the embodiment of mental illness problems that originally occurred due to mental power exceeding 20 times that of ordinary people. I'm afraid that in the Orthodox Wizard Society thousands of years ago, there was a way to skip mental meditation, which was to take this simplified mental power stabilizing potion. This mental power stabilizing potion is equivalent to being able to treat the wizard's mental illness. I'm afraid that the wizard apprentices here do not rely on their own mental meditation. I'm a wizard who has passed the heart zen. I have completely accepted my heart and understood my own path. My heart is as strong as a sword. Naturally, when I'm promoted to a formal wizard, I will not have the problem of heart zen. Sunan thought. But these ordinary first-class wizard apprentices will also encounter the problem of mental illness when they are promoted. So they must take more advanced potions to treat wizard-specific mental illnesses, to cure their potential mental problems caused by a large increase in mental power. I'm afraid that when these wizards learn some very profound magic, their mental properties will be affected, causing their mental problems. And this Hearthstone Witch's Azure Potion has the most important function, breaking the limit of mental power. The reason why the limit of mental power of a first-class wizard apprentice is 100 is because his life level is not enough for him to continue to grow. According to reason, the limit of pure-blooded human soul improvement is 100 times. This is also the upper limit of the quality improvement of the souls of many creatures. The ancient wizard society had encountered this problem before, and the whole society was stuck on this problem for decades, but later they came up with many solutions, and since then wizards have broken through the upper limit of pure-blooded human spiritual power. In essence, the difference between a first-ring wizard and a wizard apprentice is strictly defined academically, and the biggest definition is that formal wizards are all race transcendents who have surpassed the theoretical upper limit of pure-blooded humans. Therefore, every formal wizard should be respected. Therefore, the solution of the Orthodox Wizard Society more than 2000 years ago was to first increase the spiritual power to 100, and then form 5 0.7 ring magic, and 1 first ring magic to allow the wizard's spiritual sea to begin to sublimate through the first ring magic, and through the magic spring of the wizard tower, through the sudden surge of magic power, break through the obstacle of 100 spiritual power, become a race transcendent. This is the most basic way to break the upper limit of wizard spiritual power. For example, some wizards who like magic transformation will transform their bodies when constructing 0.7 ring magic and 1 ring magic, so that their bodies have the possibility of breaking through the upper limit of pure-blooded humans. Wizards of the School of Evolution will use 6 spell models to strengthen their spiritual sea, so that their soul power will undergo qualitative changes and break through the upper limit of 100 spiritual power. But in addition to this, there are other methods. For example, the Azure Potion on the parchment scroll in front of you is a kind of. The soul of the wizard who takes the Azure Potion will develop in the direction of a starlight radiator. This is the characteristic of astral creatures discovered by the Hearthstone Witch in the past through extensive research on astral creatures. The so-called astral radiator is a special physique in which the soul can leave its body and sleep and travel around, and the soul is very strong and difficult to be destroyed, but it will return to its body when waking up. Every astral creature has this talent to a certain extent, but it is very rare for humans in the main material plane to have this talent. But the point is that the Azure Potion can allow some wizards who take it to have similar talents, so that they can break through the limit of human mental power, which can only be increased to 100 times. Even the physique of this astral radiator is not the most important. The most important thing is that this method can be used to break through the upper limit of a wizard's mental power in a safer and more successful way. This Hearthstone Witch's Azure Potion is basically no different from the foundation building pill. Sunan also got a lot of inspiration from this potion formula, and even figured out one of the ways to skip the heart meditation. Although this is of no use to me now, maybe someone in my power will need it in the future. Sunan looked at the formula on the parchment scroll, and sure enough, the text on a key formula was contaminated by something unknown, making it impossible to see the formula clearly. Because this formula is isolated in the entire Azure Potion formula, it is even impossible to infer what this key material is through other materials in the formula. The petrified witch asked anxiously, "How is it?" "It doesn't matter if you can't make it right away. It's okay if you can figure it out one day. As long as you succeed, I can give you a lot of magic stones afterwards, and you can also get the friendship of a formal wizard." Sunan looked at the petrified witch and the world at the same time, and sighed slightly in his heart. No wonder the world couldn't be made. It was impossible for her to reverse the missing independent material through the materials on this formula. So the petrified witch hoped to find a powerful potion refiner to help her perfect the last formula material and refine this potion. If she didn't meet herself with an intelligent brain, it would basically be a fantasy. Sunan secretly said to the intelligent brain, "Intelligent brain, try to complete this potion formula." Yes, the mana and mental power required to refine this formula are expected to be no less than 80. At the same time, you must construct more than 3 0.7 ring magic in your spiritual sea to enhance the stability and sublimation of your spiritual sea, because refining this kind of potion is expected to have a strong impact on your spiritual sea during refining. The difficulty of refining this potion is predicted to be the difficulty of 4 sublimations. Start to use big data to infer the missing independent material and start thinking hypothetical experiments. It is estimated that it will take at least half a year to complete the inference work. If you can use your wizard's hand Sunday to do some simple test experiments in reality during this process, the inference time can be shortened to 1/3 HMM. It turns out that mental power above 80 is a strength of 4 sublimations, so the Justice Witch is also the strength of 4 sublimations, and the Petrified Witch is even stronger, belonging to the level of a half-step formal wizard. It is estimated that she may have more than 5 0.7 ring magic. Sunan pondered for a while, and said to the Petrified Witch, "Okay, but I need more than a year to conduct research. Petrified Witch, you can pass on your half set of necromancer to me later." A hint of expectation appeared in the eyes of the Petrified Witch. "No need. I will use the teleportation technique to directly transmit this magic inheritance to your mind. But remember that you only have the right to use it, not the right to trade it. You cannot trade with this inheritance." Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 69 book bar publishes a novel. Read at 69 book bar. As long as you refine a blue potion for me once in a year, it will be fine. It doesn't matter if it succeeds or fails, but if it fails, you have to pay me a magic stone equivalent to 45% of the price of this half of the inheritance. But if it succeeds, I will pay you 3 chances to help you after I become a formal wizard, and a magic stone equivalent to twice the value of this half of the inheritance. I think this deal is fair. If possible, we can sign the magic potion contract now. If you don't want to, forget it. Sunan looked at the world. It turned out that the world had signed a similar contract. But in the end, the world might have lost money. But it's hard to say that it's a loss, because even so, the world still made money. She just vomited out a small half of the things after failing. In essence, the conditions set by the petrified witch were relatively loose in order to attract other wizards to prepare the blue potion for her. Sunan had no reason to refuse. In fact, within half a year, he should be able to deduce the real formula and increase his mental power to more than 80, and at the same time build 3 potion spell models above 0.7 rings. And even if he failed, he would only vomit out half of the benefits given to him by the petrified witch. Therefore, Sunan directly agreed to this free benefit. Okay, I agree to sign a magic contract with you. The world glanced at Sunan and whispered, aha, don't end up like me, with nothing to show for it. But if there are benefits to be gained, it would be a waste not to take advantage of them. After all, we are the only 2 potion preparers here. Petrified witch, I advise you not to have too high expectations. Even without the azure potion, you can still try to break through it. It's just the upper limit of the human species' mental strength. Chariot, priestess, and even justice all looked at Sunan with envy. Sure enough, a wizard with a skill is popular everywhere. The petrified witch smiled and took out a magic contract. This kind of magic contract is written on a special paper with the contents of the contract written on it in magic words, so that it will form a contract that is binding on both parties. The petrified witch signed her name, and Sunan looked at the contract to make sure there were no hidden treaties and no traps. Then he asked the intelligent brain to calculate it, and signed his name after confirming that it was safe. The petrified witch readily gave half of the inheritance to Sunan through mental transmission, and said, in fact, I just cast a wide net, and I will eventually meet wizards who can help me. Anyway, the knowledge inheritance of these wizards can be copied. For me, it is not a loss. Knowledge is such a wonderful thing. When you share other things with others, what you have will be reduced. And knowledge is something that the more you share, the more you will get. The petrified witch said to everyone, well, the quality of this gathering is far better than the quality of the gatherings in the past 6 months. Our gathering finally ushered in another potion preparer. We all have better gains this time, which is great. It is possible to hold such a grand witch gathering in such a barren era. Hehe, I'm starting to look forward to our next gathering. Chapter 159. Are we invaded by a swarm of insects? The petrified witch took the initiative to cancel her curse magic. Suddenly, Sunan and Vasilian returned to the uninhabited grove where they were in the earldom of Samori. Sunan tidied his clothes, then snapped his fingers, and immediately Wolf 2 and Wolf 3 ran back to the carriage with the Magic Book of Wilderness and several other magic books, a bottle of Glimmer Potion, and the formula of the Azure Potion given to them by the petrified witch. Soon, Sunan got back in the carriage, and Vasilian also drove 2 high-quality white horses on the land of Samori, preparing to return to Peter's territory. Sunan looked around and saw that they had spent most of the day in the witch gathering, so it was already dark. At the same time, Sunan began to check his territory, the underground of the territory, and the location of Blom through the wolf pack effect. First of all, the ship of the Achaean Pastoral Church, where Blom was located, was all normal, and everything was normal in his territory. The werewolf deacons did not find any warlocks or other enemies in the territory, including the passages of the underground world in his territory, which were also monitored, and no new things were found to climb up. There was no trouble in Maple Leaf Town today. Hundreds of plaster gargoyles and huge statues of fortress knights stood there. Everything was normal. The underground world was lively. It only took 1 day for Jinx's swarm to basically recover its number and invade the temporary base of the Drow warrior, fighting with the upper race of the underground city, the fire dragon lizardmen. And Sunan also saw what happened in the building of the underground world people in the temporary base of the underground passage, which was built like a dungeon through a note scarab. At this time, the scarab swarm had reversely invaded the outposts of these underground world invasion forces. Moreover, in the corners inside this base, like cockroaches, many hidden nests were built. These insect swarms are like cockroaches, which can never be killed or eliminated. At this time, in the relatively distant Peter territory, 3,000 meters below, on the Drow Warrior Mountain, they were looking grimly when they saw that there were modified scarabs in their temporary base, the frontline outpost. The Drow Warrior Mountain looked extremely grim. Although the citizens of their slave city-state had great power, if they were defeated or caused great losses to the city-state, they would also be demoted to slaves. Once they became slaves, they would be worse off than dead. He was an arcane master. The drow warrior chopped the back of the modified scarab he found in the crack of the wall with a knife, and at the same time, looked sternly at the 3 modified scarabs the size of basketballs that crawled out of other rooms in the dungeon base. These scarabs seemed to be provoking him. No. If I let these scarabs go down and touch the black hole fragment under the main city of Rye, I will definitely be demoted to a slave by the mistress. The drow warrior whispered a spell, and suddenly, dark energy wrapped around the samurai sword in his hand, and the whole samurai sword began to emit purple-black energy, and this energy was like soft water, surrounding his samurai sword. The drow warrior rushed towards the scarabs in the dungeon, and as the purple energy track flashed by, 2 basketball-sized modified scarabs were cut over by him. The attack method of dark energy is very special. After the dark energy magic is attached to a weapon, it will form invisible additional multiple attacks when attacking the enemy. In the apprentice stage, the more powerful the dark magic, the more attacks there are. So, when the drow warrior swung his sword on the mountain just now, 2 modified scarabs were attacked. His dark energy enchantment spell can not only deepen the damage of the slashing weapon, but also increase the number of additional attacks. On the drow warrior mountain, he had just called his lover to help, but when he walked out of the dungeon stronghold, he found that there were traces of modified scarabs everywhere in the corners of the stronghold. In order to make the hive consciousness really appear, Sunan began to let these scarabs continue to reproduce. Anyway, there is the Rye main city in the underground world as an insurance mechanism for the number of insect swarms. Sunan felt that this deformed underground wizard society had developed alone underground for more than 2000 years, and now it had to return to the surface and occupy the world. It must have its own unique features. He could use this underground world to suppress the number of his own insect swarms and always ensure that his experiments were at a safe value. Moreover, the insect swarms could also test the strength of this underground world. Even Sunan suspected that there were drow mistresses in the underground world who had reached the level of formal wizards. However, the Rye mistress did not seem to have reached the level of formal wizards. Maybe formal wizards would appear deeper underground. After all, it was a deformed wizard society. It should not be viewed as a mortal society, but as a scrap of an orthodox wizard society, the result of more than 2000 years of development in the underground world. Who knows what level of enemies there are in the depths of the underground civilization. Anyway, there are still many mysteries about the underground world. Now, the only connection between the underground world and the surface world is the Storm Kingdom. In other words, in the next few years, this underground world may only be enjoyed by Sunan and other wizard apprentices in the Storm Kingdom. But in the carriage, Sunan frowned. The etheric black hole fragment in the main city of Rye? What is that? Why can't my swarm touch it? It seems that this so-called etheric black hole fragment is likely to be related to the truth of the origin of the underground world. Perhaps, by exploring it, I can know why the underground world hates wizards so much, but the Arcanist is still a kind of wizard. Swarm, continue to hunt for me. Mr. Warwick, you can lead some super werewolf deacons and super werewolf messengers to go underground and hunt for me in the underground world areas explored by the swarm. I need more lizardman corpses and fire dragon lizardman corpses. I want to use them to extract the essence of blood. At this time, in the temporary base of the dungeon in the underground world, after thinking for a while, the drow warrior mountain finally realized that he could no longer solve the problem he was facing. He looked at the basketball-sized transformed scarabs in front of him and gnashed his teeth. He was even horrified to find that these scarabs actually swallowed the dark energy attached to the samurai sword in his hand every time he swung. The drow looked extremely unhappy, and then he took out a special red ether stone from his chest pocket. Then, he crushed the red ether stone and asked for help from the main city of Rye. 004 Stronghold asked for help from the main city and the surrounding outposts. It was attacked by the swarm of insects from the surface. Read the error-free version at 69 Book Bar. 69 Book Bar publishes a novel for the first time. I now suspect that the surface is not that safe and rich at all. It is even more dangerous than the underground world. It is known that the surface swarms I have encountered can devour all the creatures and materials I know, including stone, soil, metal, static iron, and even nether stone. And arcane magic energy. I have discovered that these swarms have begun to invade our world from the tunnel we dug. Everyone, you must eliminate the swarms, otherwise we will be invaded. I am now using my authority as a citizen of the main city of Rye and a surface vanguard officer to put the underground main city of Rye into a level 3 combat readiness state. Be careful, don't take it lightly, we are really facing a very serious invasion now. On the Drow Warrior Mountain, after using the Red Etherstone to issue a warning to the underground world. In another temporary dungeon stronghold 10,000 kilometers away, a female Drow warrior swung her samurai sword and slashed at the Storm Knight who was captured and tortured by her lizardman army in front of her. The female Drow warrior raised her eyebrows. What? We were invaded? That guy on the mountain is really abusing his authority. Such a weak surface creature actually used an exaggerated word like invasion. Is he trying to make people laugh? That guy always makes excuses for his incompetence. Mother, you will be very angry. You actually have such a useless son. I'm also angry. You actually have such a useless brother. In the main city of Rye, 12,000 meters underground, among a large number of lizardmen slaves, cryptmen slaves, grey dwarf slaves, and other slaves, the Drow queen who stayed in the palace and enjoyed the service of these slaves frowned at this moment. Rye madam has a beautiful face and a slender figure. She is very tall and has rye-colored skin. Her eyes have been emitting blue magic light, which proves that she has been maintaining a state of highly concentrated arcane energy. At this moment, a trace of anger appeared on the pretty face of Rye madam. We have been invaded? My weak son. You always say something ridiculous. Perhaps you are more suitable to be a comedian. You actually said that we were invaded by a group of insects. Anger flashed across Mother Rye's eyes. She was in a bad mood, so she said to the lizardmen slaves below, 1,000 cavemen slaves, jump into the other black hole holy land in the center of the main city now. You, a group of evil races who helped the wizards in the past, deserve to die. Anyone who dares to disobey my orders will be killed by the whole clan. At the same time, Mother Rye looked at a female Drow warrior who was responsible for guarding her and said, my sister, bring your poor nephew back to me immediately. Maybe he is only suitable to be a slave. Just like those lowly lizardmen slaves below. I will hold him accountable for his misrepresentation of information. At the same time, you lead your blue dragon lizardmen guards to take over base number 4. I hope to establish a base on the ground in just 1 week. The Rye lady walked down from the gorgeous bed in the palace, but her feet would neither wear shoes nor touch the ground. She walked on the heads of the fire dragon lizardmen and blue dragon lizardmen, and even on the heads of the more powerful and honorable Khan centaurs. She was an arcanist who mastered exquisite arcane magic and suppressed the fragments of the etheric black hole where the Rye city was located. She was the slave owner of all the slaves in the Rye city. Therefore, she walked on the heads of all the slaves. She wanted to walk on the honor, dignity, and soul of all the slaves. Chapter 160, Glacial Sleep Meditation. Returning to the carriage led by Peter, Sunan began to read the half set of necromancer's meditation method given to him by the petrified witch. First of all, this necromancer's meditation method, ice sleep meditation method, can actually be learned to the stage of a formal wizard. In other words, this is actually a meditation method for formal wizards. Sunan smiled and said, as expected of an old witch from more than 2,000 years ago, she is really smooth in doing things. In this case, I have to accept her favor. Sunan drank a bottle of mental power enhancement +4 potion and quickly constructed a set of ice sleep meditation method. The basic runes of this meditation method are more than 200, while the basic runes of the words of the dead meditation method are only 31. It can be seen that this set of meditation method is superior, but it is very likely that the necromancer, the mortal enemy of the petrified witch, did not get the complete necromancer inheritance, so this set of meditation method should have been equipped with at least one or more first ring magic, but now it is not. There are only 2 0.7 ring psychic summoning magic and 3 0.5 ring psychic summoning magic. but because the meditation system is the thing that best interprets the wizard's magic road system, using spells that match the meditation system will reduce consumption and increase spell effects. So, it's pretty good now. At worst, if there is a need in the future, let the intelligent brain allocate some computing power and calculate a ring of magic that matches the glacier sleep meditation method, based on the 5 existing magics. In the carriage, the air suddenly became cold, and circles of ice crystals appeared in the carriage with Sunan as the center. Wolf Big and Wolf 2 wagged their tails, pricked up their ears, and looked up at Sunan curiously. Both of them are now magical creatures that have been sublimated 3 times. Of course, they are not afraid of this little cold, but are curious about what their master is doing now. 2 ice marks were left on the dirt road where the wheels of the carriage passed. Vasilion, who was driving, said, "Master?" Vasilion waited for a while, and when he saw that Sunan didn't speak, he knew that Sunan didn't encounter any accidents, so he just shut up and kept silent. Being taciturn is his preference now. He just needs to protect his wizard master. Sunan's current mental power is extraordinary, so the level of meditation for the 3rd level wizard apprentice of the glacier sleep is very simple, and he also understands the core of this meditation method. This set of glacier sleep meditation method follows the small route of summoning the undead of the psychic school. The 3 0.5 ring magics are Glacier Tomb spell, Summon Icefield Snowman spell, and Summon Icefield Corpse Wolf spell. The main function of Glacier Tomb spell is to seal the undead summons in a magical space about the size of a carriage. Usually, the undead summons will be sealed in this glacial tomb, and it can provide the effects of automatic recovery and strong control of the glacial undead. Moreover, the glacial tomb spell has automatic ice spike magic defense, and will automatically attack the enemies that approach, which is a relatively comprehensive magic for summoning the undead magic. Sunan thought that the petrified witch must have taken the risk of approaching the glacial tomb in order to deal with her enemies, which must have taken a lot of effort. Summoning Icefield Snowman spell and Summoning Icefield Corpse Wolf spell are magics that summon a snowman and a corpse wolf stored in advance in the glacial tomb and control them strongly. Snowmen and corpse wolves do not seem to be low level undead, but middle level undead. These 2 spells also include how to make snowmen and corpse wolves. Snowmen can be made by using a lot of ice and snow, mixing specific spells, and using a lot of death and frost magic. Corpse wolves need the corpse of a wolf, and when they are made, they also need specific spells and a lot of death and frost magic. The 2 0.7 ring psychic summoning magics are Summoning Icefield Undead Bear and Summoning Icefield Undead Eagle. Undead bears and undead eagles are also made with special spells in the corpses of corresponding animals. Wizards who learn this meditation magic system will probably have undead wolves, undead bears, undead eagles, and snow monsters around them. Sunan thought about how to defeat such an opponent, but for him, he just had to use the wolf pack to suppress the opponent's summons, and he could kill the wizard directly. Sunan handed these 5 psychic magics and the glacial sleep meditation to Vasily. In this way, if Vasily can learn these things quickly, he can summon a snow monster, an undead wolf, an undead bear, an undead eagle, multiple skeleton warriors, ghost scholars, and ghouls. In this way, the Death Knight is worthy of its reputation, and almost 1 Death Knight is enough to pull up an undead team. Moreover, Sunan also wants to use undead tactics to fight warlocks, and do corresponding experiments. Because he doesn't know the specific situation of ordinary undead fighting warlocks, Vasily is a bit troubled. Lord Sunan, although I really want to improve myself and help you solve those warlocks who are still secretly preparing to attack all wizards and mortals, but from the actual situation, I'm too slow to learn. If you can make the corresponding potion, I think I will be able to form combat effectiveness soon. The error-free version is available at 69 Book Bar. 69 Book Bar publishes a novel for the first time. In the carriage, Sunan shook his head and said, Vasilion, the number of potion skills that can be added by the thrice sublimated potion is limited. If you add too much, it will consume the energy of the thrice sublimated Death Knight potion itself, which will make you weaker. Now most of your thrice sublimated Death Knight energy is used to upgrade the Black Blade, Death Barrier and Death Coil, and the 3 combined triangle psychic potions that you have matched. especially the death barrier and the black blade, which are extremely excellent and powerful in themselves, and take up a lot of space. I have also reserved the last potion position you can add, which is used to add the death aura potion, calculated based on several simple aura magics obtained from the Oak Wizard's library. Death aura can amplify all the undead armies you lead, but this requires me to return to the territory before refining it. Therefore, in order to enhance your own strength, let you become stronger, based on the Death Knight I designed, using this foundation and your talents, that is your task. The Death Knight system and the Ice Sleep system are temporarily parallel. So if you learn the meditation method and supporting spells of the Ice Sleep system, you will no longer be an ordinary Death Knight. Suya said, don't worry, I will give you the mental strength enhancement +3 potion, mental strength enhancement +4 potion and life essence concentration potion. And Peter Castle is now a soul, spiritual land. For other wizards, the learning bonus may not be that great, but for wizards of the school of psychicism, the learning speed bonus is too great. With the help of these potions, your progress will be very fast. You have talent. Vasilian, who was driving the carriage, said, okay, then I will try my best. Thank you, master. Sunan nodded. Since he had discovered that Vasilian had a talent for learning magic, he should make good use of it and make him a more powerful Death Knight. In the process of collecting magic resources next, it is very likely that some things that get in the way will appear, so he must improve his magic army. But then again, Sunan felt that, while dealing with these enemies, his magic and magic troops were gradually becoming stronger. If he hid in the mountains and forests, let alone whether he could find resources, he would probably end up tinkering with it for decades, only to find that the things he had tinkered with might not be so good. Chapter 161, the force strength of a normal attack reaches 0 rings. At this time, it was already morning. Sunan and the others were about to leave Samori. While doing the initial meditation, you can actually do other things. Therefore, while driving, Vasily took the mental power enhancement +4 potion and began to construct the glacial sleep meditation method. His mental power was only 1/3 of Sunan's, so he couldn't get started as quickly as Sunan. In the carriage, Sunan recited 3 short spell words and raised his left hand to Vasily's position. Suddenly, the potion in the mental power enhancement +4 potion bottle in Sunan's right hand quickly decreased, and at the same time, a blue light ball appeared in Sunan's left hand. This blue light ball turned into 3 fast-moving magic energy shuttles, which circled around the body of Vasily, who was driving the carriage, and then these energy shuttles entered Vasily's body. This was the first potion magic that Sunan constructed in his Sea of Consciousness, or the potion injection magic, the potion remote injection spell. With this magic, Sunan didn't even need others to take the initiative to drink the potion. He could directly use magic to remotely inject it into other people's bodies. On the way, Sunan began to pay attention to the 2 fire magics he had obtained through trading before, first of which was the Akshay bullet spell and the boiling blood. The intelligent brain believed that, by analyzing the boiling blood spell and obtaining new potions, it was entirely possible to strengthen the werewolves above the super werewolf again, so that the super werewolves and the mutant werewolves could obtain the corresponding fire magic blood enhancement, further strengthening the werewolves. Sunan named it the boiling skill. Sunan touched the wolf 1 and wolf 2 in the carriage. The 2 mutant werewolf hounds immediately stuck out their tongues excitedly and shook their tails. Sunan said, in this way, the werewolves' already strong melee ability can be further improved. His requirements for werewolves are to be faster, higher, stronger, and more violent. Therefore, the violent skill of ordinary werewolves is fury. Now that the super werewolf class has appeared, the second violent skill is also reasonable. In this way, the undead ability of the werewolves can be developed to the greatest extent and the undead ability can be converted into combat melee output. At the same time, the intelligent computer developed the formula of the 7th wolf claw potion, limit claw, through the limit condensation principle of the Akshay bullet, combined with the previous basic calculation work on the new wolf claw potion. The limit claw potion allows the werewolf to concentrate all the energy contained in its wolf claws on the claws, and release it in an instant when attacking the enemy's body surface, so as to produce the greatest attack effect. the limit claws that compress the power, the triumphant claws that turn the claws into magic weapons, the power claws that enhance the swing, the agility claws that increase the speed of the claws, the attack claws that absorb part of the power of the killed enemy, and the steel claws that turn the claws into steel. And then through the rage, second level rage and boiling skills, the strength of the super werewolf's melee attack should be increased to a level where each attack has, with the 5 claw skill, it can be used once every 5 seconds, 0.4 rings or more. This is a very terrifying strength, because the fireball spell that can only be released by first class wizard apprentices is only 0.5 ring strength. The fireball insect potion, that Sunan bought in large quantities at the market, is also 0.5 ring strength. The super werewolf is just a second level sublimation werewolf, and it only has 6 wolf claw skills, and the number of violent skills is not as many as the mutant werewolf, that has been sublimated 3 times. In this way, it is expected that ordinary werewolves will still only have 4 wolf claw skills, and 1 violent skill. Super werewolves have 6 wolf claw skills and 3 violent skills, and mutant werewolves have 7 wolf claw skills and 5 violent skills. It is expected that, after obtaining the perfect boiling potion, a second boiling potion will be developed. I want to strive to make the strength of the claws of the mutant werewolf, that has been sublimated 3 times, reach more than 0.7 rings every 5 seconds after the state is fully opened. Now the claw attack strength of the mutant werewolf in the full state should only be around 0.6 rings. The definition of melee fighter is that every attack must have a strong attack power, otherwise what kind of melee fighter is this? At the same time, the Akshay bullet, a special 0.7 ring fire magic, has other uses. The intelligent computer listed more than a dozen uses for Sunan, but what Sunan was most concerned about was the use of an Akshay bullet arrow listed by the intelligent computer. On the arrowhead of the werewolf warrior Blom's bow and arrow, a thumb-sized high condensation potion is loaded. The special nature of the Akshay bullet spell is enough to make its conversion potion so small, and then the arrow can be shot at the enemy's body, and then it will pass through the enemy like a fire bullet. Sunan adopted the development direction of the Akshay bullet spell of the intelligent computer. Whether it is this plan, or the limit claw potion and the boiling potion, they will start immediately after returning to Peter's territory. At the same time, the wilderness curse also needs to be analyzed as soon as possible. Because the wilderness curse is essentially a wizard of the summoning school, used to make up for the lack of their own strength. The more magic servants you have, the more powerful this spell is. It is worth learning. In addition, since the war has been launched against the underground city, it is better to make the swarm evolve with all your strength. At the same time, you can also enter the underground city to hunt more blood of magical creatures and obtain more resources. Sunan was in the carriage, thinking about his future development goals, and even began to think about whether to expand the scale of Maple Leaf Town's trade in ancient books. While the largest trading city in the South Thrace military region, Samori City, was in turmoil. But suddenly, he noticed something unusual and looked up to the left of the carriage. The enemies nowadays are so imaginative that they actually use catapults to attack my carriage. Vasilian. I saw that beside the official road, there were a few people who looked like mobs, actually carrying a small catapult, aiming at Sunan's carriage on the road, and then throwing a huge rock. The rock was aimed directly at Sunan's carriage, and it was going to smash the carriage to pieces. But Vasily suddenly turned his head and looked at the 5 people. The 5 people were frightened by the red light emitted from the eyes of Vasily's head armor. Vasily stood up from the carriage, holding the reins of the 2 white-fronted horses with his left hand, and clenched his right hand, gathering the black knife. Foolish fellow, a mere ant, dares to block the giant's advance. The next moment, he swung the knife 3 times. Because Vasily's mental strength had improved, and he had learned 2 meditation methods, the power of the black knife was even stronger at this moment, at least 0.5% more powerful. He swung the knife over, and the stones thrown by the catapult were immediately cut into small pieces of stone fragments, and fell beside the carriage. At the same time, the 2 superior white-fronted horses raised their hooves, uttered a cry, and stopped on the road. The 5 people disguised as thugs were now looking at Vasily standing in the front seat of the carriage in horror. Monster! The catapult actually didn't work. What kind of monster is this? Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 69 book bar publishes a novel for the first time. Oh my god, my lord the Earl. Vasily said to Sunan in a low voice, my master, these people can use things like catapults, predict our position, and set up ambushes in advance, so they can't be civilian thugs who believe in the god of law. These people are soldiers, my master. And the Earl of this territory does have a conflict of interest with us, and he has considerable hostility towards us. He also has the ability to judge our approximate location through the intelligence of the soldiers at the toll booth. But Sunan's voice was heard from the carriage. Vasilian, your judgment is very accurate, but this is still a frame up. Someone wants to use this stupid disguise to make me misjudge the situation and direct the disaster to the Count Samori's family. I don't think that the current Samori family has the energy to deliberately send people to assassinate me when I'm about to leave their territory because of a little conflict between me and them over the living space. Sunan said contemptuously, those 5 people outside, your master is too stupid. Count Samori is a loyal believer in the god of storms. His devout belief in the god of storms has reached the point where he wants to destroy his own subjects who believe in the god of law. Do you think that, if he really wants to attack me, he will let his soldiers wear the token of the god of law? You don't understand the character of the Stormlords. The Stormlords are paranoids who can do anything for their beliefs, and they are not good at using this kind of conspiracy. You should not be from the Storm Kingdom. Let me guess, what is the relationship between the blind man and that little bitch? In fact, the Storm Knights were fighting recklessly, with basically no tactics to speak of. They were all a group of barbarians. Such a vicious and sophisticated chain of tricks was not the style of the Stormlords. A group of people hiding near the forest, spying on Sunan, held bows and arrows wrapped with cloth strips full of black spells, and hunting knives with the hilts also wrapped with cloth strips full of spells. At this time, hearing Sunan's shout, a girl in the group wanted to rush out, but was held down by a middle-aged man. Demon Hunter Selina Fisher. What are the 3 rules of our demon hunters? Yes, Demon Hunter Raphael Fisher. The girl thought for a while and said immediately, first, hunters must never be without a hunting target. Second, hunters must observe the prey and establish an impression of the prey's weaknesses and strengths before they can start hunting the target. Third, hunters cannot be hunted by the prey in turn. Demon Hunter Raphael Fisher said with a raised mouth. Well said, you are already a qualified demon hunter. Each of us demon hunters has had our lives destroyed by wizards. We are all orphans. We all have a deep hatred for wizards. We all fight for an equal world, so we are all brothers and sisters. Although it is okay to hunt that wizard now, we must never violate the code of our demon hunters. Only after observing and confirming the opponent's weaknesses and strengths can we really take action. Let the wizard live a little longer. Raphael Fisher had a cruel smile on his face. A first-class wizard apprentice? We have hunted several of this level, but he is the smartest I have ever seen. He completely ignored the trap we set and didn't even hesitate for a second. It looks like a good prey. Raphael Fisher licked his tongue behind the bushes. I like prey of this strength. There will be rewards, only if there is a challenge. Chapter 162 Demon Hunters Multiple Serial Traps. In the carriage, Sunan used the wolf pack effect to contact the wizard's hand Sunday and began to prepare for the refining of the boiling potion and the limit claw potion. In this way, when he returned, he would not have to do the preparation work and deal with the materials himself and could start refining directly. At the same time, he contacted Pera and asked Sunan to start designing a potion bottle as big as an arrow, preferably made of iron bottles. At the same time, Vasily found the emblem of the Count Samori family on the bodies of the 5 people disguised as thugs and the catapults he killed, and even a famous weapon of the Count Samori family that has been passed down for a long time, the Samori Knight Shield. At the same time, Wolf Big and Wolf 2 ran to the bushes beside the official road. The bushes here are lush, but there are some indentations on them. About 3 to 4 people have been pressed on this bush. Wolf Big and Wolf 2 sniffed their remaining scent and followed them for a distance of 100 meters, but Wolf Big and Wolf 2 suddenly lost the trace of their scent, wandered around in confusion, and let out wolf howls again and again. Sunan raised his eyebrows and said to Vasily, who came over, it seems that the blind nun should have found a good helper. there is at least a 90% chance that it was done by the people the blind man found. This group of people has good lurking skills, and some of them have stealth skills. Even the mutant werewolf can't smell them. I don't know if they can hide from the mutant werewolf. Deacon Wolf 3. Vasily said to Sunan Dolly, "My master, I carefully examined the bodies of the 5 soldiers, and I found that they should all be soldiers. After my inspection, I found that there were traces of spells on these soldiers. It is speculated that their consciousness was controlled by spells, so they ambushed here and attacked us. My master, how should we deal with the Samori Night Shield, the catapult and these 5 bodies?" This is the benefit of letting Vasily learn meditation. Vasily used to be a focused priest, and now he is a focused wizard. And after he learned magic, his understanding of things like magic has improved, and it will become very convenient in many small details. For example, he found that the 5 people he had just killed were mentally manipulated. Sunan smiled and said, "Ridiculous. The person who set up this trap must be a complicated person. No matter what he does, even getting up in the morning, he must get up, look in the mirror, and doubt himself. This is a multiple trap. It makes me suspect that Count Samori sent soldiers disguised as mobs to attack me with catapults. It also makes Count Samori suspect that I killed his 5 soldiers and stole or destroyed a relatively expensive siege machine of his family. At the same time, they also used a broken antique shield of Count Samori's family to frame me." Sunan looked at the shield with the Samori family logo in Vasily's hand and was a little speechless. The newer the shield, the better. You don't even know if this thing that has been passed down for hundreds of years can still be used as a shield. Vasily said, "The person who set this trap is despicable." Sunan said, "I have asked the 9-headed super werewolf Deacon and Wolf 3 to strengthen the guards. It seems that we need to speed up and train werewolf inspectors to investigate. Strengthen my monitoring system. Blind nun bitch, I don't know where she found such a talented person. She is so good at hiding, just like the rat people. Vasilian, let's go to the Count Samori's family and return the shields to them. Let them take the catapults themselves. By the way, ask me for the reward for returning the shields to them, and you take the 5 bodies with you, although I know it was not done by the Count Samori's family." Sunan smiled and said, "But since someone has helped me to collect so much evidence, I will assume that they did it, and I can blackmail this family." Vasily said, "Lord Sunan, I thought you would not offend the Count Samori's family." Sunan shook his head. "Do you think that, if I don't offend the Count's family of Samori, this family will be friendly to me? On the contrary, the stronger I am, the less this family dares to be arrogant to me. Besides, this family is near my territory, and because of its incompetent and weak rule, it has caused an uprising among the subjects, and the uprising has even spread to the surrounding territories. According to Warwick's report, even the people in my territory have begun to have thugs from outside who have secretly contacted them and wanted them to start a riot, but my subjects informed them in advance." Sunan said, "The Count's family of Samori is so incompetent. It disgusts me. Now because of the decrees of Borgia and the Archbishop, there are 2 baronies between my territory and the Earl's territory, but those 2 baronies are now nominally my vassals. So our family is bordering their family's territory. I can use this incident to achieve my goal and make this family sober. I want to make them completely afraid of any small moves." The concept of territory in the Middle Ages is actually closer to the concept of family. The ruling families are the entities of this country. On the contrary, the concept of the country should be under the family. The demon hunter Raphael Fisher, when Sunan and others made a new choice, returned and went to find the Samori family. They appeared on a nearby hilltop and looked at this scene. Read the error-free version at 69 Book Bar. 69 Book Bar publishes a novel for the first time. Raphael, the leader of the demon hunter family, frowned and said to the girl, another adult man and an adult woman beside him, "I didn't expect that the wizard was so difficult to calculate. In this way, our pawn in the Samori family is useless. Originally, we thought that with the arrogance of the wizard, he would definitely not bother to explain, so we can make the best of a bad situation and let the mortal family conflict with the wizard, and then use the identity of the mortal family to attract the attention of the Storm Church, and then make this wizard the target of public criticism, and then be strangled by the church and the mortal family together. We have always done this, and it has worked every time. Wizards who disdain to communicate with mortals and lack social connections are always easy to be framed, and then the situation is expanded and escalated step by step. But he actually came directly to the door, and didn't give me the opportunity to create misunderstandings. Demon Hunter Selena hesitated and said, he won't blackmail the Samori family again, using our calculations. Why does he look so aggressive to me? It seems like Raphael, the leader of the Demon Hunter family, sneered, you are too young, Selena. What you said is absolutely impossible. Wizards are very arrogant. They say this is the curse of knowledge. Because they know more knowledge, they have no patience with mortals. Although this is an excuse, wizards will never focus on mortals, let alone blackmail mortals. Even if they need some resources, they will find agents. So we can easily find their loopholes and alienate the relationship between them and their subordinate forces in their lives without direct contact with mortals and away from social contact. After all, looking at the sky all day and not looking at the road will cost you. Selena frowned. This is my first time to carry out a wizard hunting mission. But in my opinion, Sunan Peter has a deep connection with his subjects. It's not like what you described before. Even when we pretended to be the rebels of the followers of the God of Law and went to find the civilians in Peter's territory, we were reported before we took any action. Raphael Fisher remained silent for a rare time. He has always had a serious prejudice against wizards. So even if there is a counter-example like Sunan, he is unwilling to face the facts and change his cognition. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 163, Count Samari's Panic and the Call to Resistance. Along the way, even though they were blocked by soldiers at the toll booth again, Sunan did not pay the toll this time, and even let Vasily drive the carriage through. They went directly to Samori Castle. Samori's guards at this moment were much more lax than Sunan had imagined. It was not difficult for them to enter the city area in front of Samori Castle. The entire city area seemed to be in great chaos. Soldiers were rampaging in their own city, knocking on the doors of every house they thought was suspicious. There seemed to be many pagan thugs inside the city, or these thugs themselves were the main residents of the city of Samori. As long as Count Samori abused his subjects and discriminated against those who believed in the God of Law, these subjects would continue to attack the soldiers of Samori territory. More rebels were hiding in the countryside and towns of Samori territory, attacking cities and villages. They could not fight against the Samori family, which had a large number of storm knights, so they could only use guerrilla warfare to harass and destroy every valuable thing in Samori territory. Now, all industries and businesses in Samori territory have withered. Merchants and craftsmen who moved away have been gathering there in an endless stream because of the economic appeal of Maple Leaf City. Sunan glanced at the residential area of Samori City behind him. A small church of the God of Law was being demolished there, and at the same time, soldiers supervised the workers to build a new church of the God of Storms in the original location. These soldiers whipped the priests and civilians who wanted to protect the church of the God of Law. They roared, if you want to stay in this country, you must convert your faith. This country cannot tolerate you, the untouchables who believe in the God of Law. Listen carefully, the Earl has ordered that from today on, all those who believe in the God of Law cannot have their own church, hold mass, walk on the streets, and everyone must pay 3 times the head tax. Snap! The sergeant swung the whip, and the whip fell on the head of a little priest. With a sharp scream from the young deacon, he was knocked to the ground, and fell into a coma. The civilians around were panicked, and surrounded the little priest, wanting to protect their priests. At the same time, Sunan directly asked Vasily to drive the carriage to the front of the Samori castle. Even if there were soldiers blocking the road, they did not dare to speak to Sunan. After seeing Vasily's terrifying eyes and Sunan's carriage with the symbol of a high-ranking noble, and they could not stop him at all, Vasily threw the 5 bodies directly at the gate of the Samori family castle. The Samori family soldiers who were unable to dodge were all crushed to the ground by the bodies. The official storm knight of the Somori family who was guarding the gate of the castle seemed very angry. He learned Sunan's identity from the family emblem on the carriage. He suppressed his anger and said to Sunan, "Lord Count Peter, I think you have been very proud recently. You just became a count and you want to show off in our territory, especially at this time when our family is in turmoil. What do you want to do by coming here? Can I regard this as a provocation to our Count Somori? You are too arrogant to go deep into our territory alone. Even if you are the Lord of Storm, you have to give us an explanation today." Sunan waited for a while, waiting for the messenger of the Somori family, and hurriedly reported to Count Somori. Count Somori walked to the gate of the castle with 5 official knights and 11 knight attendants from their family headquarters. At the same time, at least 200 elite soldiers trained by Somori appeared at the gate of the castle. These elite soldiers were armed with crossbows and were on the castle, ready for battle. Apparently, when Count Somori heard that Sunan had brought people to his castle, he subconsciously thought that Sunan had brought troops to attack. He was so anxious that he quickly summoned the elite forces of his family and rushed to the gate of the castle. Count Somori was a strong middle-aged man, but he looked weak now. He had a bandage tied on his left hand and hung it on his chest, and his face was pale. At this moment, Count Somori was relieved to see that Sunan came alone, and at most he was accompanied by a very powerful knight, because this meant that Sunan was not coming to conquer his territory. If it were any other time, Count Somori would definitely not be afraid, but only on this stormy day, he was a little worried that the rebels would directly attack his castle. If it weren't for the Storm Knights suppressing him, he would have chosen to escape temporarily. Although there were Storm Knights suppressing the rebels, for some reason, he still lost a formal knight and 3 knight attendants. It seemed that the rebels also had military forces that could threaten the Storm Knights. This made Count Somori worried these days. His family also had a territory of 3 barren islands among hundreds of islands in the Naxos Islands in the Mediterranean. For a few days, he wanted to go there to avoid the limelight. He would come back when the people in the territory calmed down. Now, he has moved his wife and children to the island, but Count Somori did not expect that Sunan would come to him at this time, even in a menacing manner, with a very powerful looking knight beside him. Unlike the indignation of the official knights of the Somori family, the Count of Somori, who was already beginning to feel helpless due to the rebellion of his own subjects, did not speak harshly to Sunan. He just asked Sunan in confusion and anger, "Count Peter, why did you come to my castle and provoke me? No matter what, you have to give our Somori family an explanation today. Otherwise, other lords will think that the Somori family is easy to bully." Read the error-free version at 69 Book Bar. 69 Book Bar publishes a novel for the first time. 69 Book Bar. Read. I know you have a good relationship with Bishop Borgia Frederick, and you are also very capable. But we didn't interfere with each other before. Today, I don't know what made you angry. Count Somori coughed a few times. My eldest son, who I had high hopes for, was even killed by those untouchables who believed in the god of law 5 days ago. How hateful. As the Lord of Storm, the Lord of the God of Storm, and the great nobles of the kingdom, we should have been more united at this time. But why, Count Peter? Vasily interrupted him. Unity? Foolish Count Somori, look at the 5 bodies we threw over. The premise of unity is that you are reliable people, not conspirators who arranged assassinations. Why was my master assassinated by your family's soldiers when he passed through your family's territory? This is a naked declaration of war. Somori family, are you going to choose war? The Somori family hurriedly checked the 5 bodies. The conclusion shocked everyone in the Somori family. Because these 5 soldiers were all their people, and for some reason, they deliberately carried a large number of Somori family tokens on their bodies. Even officers had recognized the identities of these 5 people. Assassination? The Knights of Somori immediately looked at their own earl with suspicious eyes. Earl Somori, wouldn't he be so stupid as to assassinate another earl's family at this time? Earl Somori was stunned, and then he was filled with anger towards the mob, and then he quickly explained to Sunan nervously, Earl Peter, this is definitely a misunderstanding. This is a trap. This must be a trap set by those mobs to make us, the Stormlords, kill each other. You must not fall into their trap. I have never given such an order. Earl Somori even began to stamp his feet and curse. Goddamn god of law. Goddamn Eastern Empire people. These lowly people can't obey me no matter what. Faintly, Sunan and he heard, in the city area of Samori not far from the castle, the shouts of Samori civilians marching on the streets, braving the swords of the soldiers. Let the people of the Storm Kingdom leave our land. This is the land where we have lived for generations. Why should we let the Storm Lord rule us? No matter how powerful the Storm Knights are, they only have a dozen people, and we have more than 100,000 people. As long as we unite, we can overthrow the tyranny of the Knights. Count Samori turned pale when he heard the faint shouts. He walked down the city wall, opened the castle gate, and hurriedly led his people to Sunan, wanting to get Sunan's forgiveness. Count Sunan, I'm willing to compensate you for your losses. I know how you feel now, and I can understand. Anyone who is assassinated will feel bad. But this is definitely not what I did. I can compensate you. Chapter 164 Harsh Treaty. In the carriage, Sunan looked through the window at Count Samori, who was eager to explain to him, and said, use compensation to prove that the Samori family has no hostility towards me. As a fellow Stormlord and an immigrant of the Holy Empire, I can consider it. But I need the Samori family's tax-free passage, tax-free trade, military stationing rights, and the Samori family's right to use the seaport. If civilians from your territory migrate to my territory, I don't want any soldiers to stop this from happening. And as a reward for returning your family's antique shield, I hope to borrow your family's collection of books for 1 month and obtain 1/3 of the books permanently. If you can do that, then I can let this matter go. But I want to remind you that there seems to be a traitor in your family, so be careful next time. Now that the earldom of Samori is in such chaos, Sunan is too lazy to get involved in this territory. The current Samori family is like a hedgehog that is about to die of illness. His territory has no temptation for others. On the contrary, because of the uprising and riots, whoever gets involved will be unlucky, but there is still a little power to protect himself. In addition, the order of the Storm Kingdom is far from disappearing. The feudal order still exists. The Storm Church still has a deep foundation and controls the order of the entire Storm Kingdom. It tries not to let supernatural forces emerge, and continues to deceive the civilians of the entire Storm Kingdom, making them think that this world is a world without supernatural forces. Therefore, Sunan is only prepared to use this method to ensure that the earldom of Samori will not hinder him, and will not be used by certain forces, because of misunderstandings, to fight with him. To be honest, if the above rights are really obtained, then the meaning of vassalizing this earldom is not great. Moreover, looking at the appearance of this family, it is estimated that they may not be able to hold on. As soon as these words came out, Earl Samori hadn't spoken yet, but the faces of the 5 official knights of the Samori family changed immediately. They had followed the count to the outside of the castle. At this moment, they were all extremely angry. The Storm Knights attacked directly without any thought or hesitation. Because of their anger, they wanted to show Sunan a little face, so that Sunan would not think that the Samori family was in trouble, and was easy to bully now. A senior Storm Knight of the Samori family jumped directly onto the carriage, and wanted to knock the Vasalan down. Another senior Storm Knight wanted to attack Sunan from the window, and the other 3 rushed up to provide support. But the next moment, Vasalan made a fake move to take out a black knife from the carriage. The black knife with high energy density was covered with runes on its surface, and it looked no different from a real knife. He cut off the knight's sword in the hand of a Storm Knight who attacked him with one knife, and at the same time, swung another knife to cut off 3 knight swords that attacked the carriage in succession, and used the knight armor in his left hand to directly grab the knight sword of the last senior Storm Knight who stabbed him. The Storm Knight was stunned for a moment. He stabbed with all his strength, but who knew that Vasalan would grab his knight's sword directly with his palm. Then, Vasily grabbed his sword and pulled it out like pulling a carrot, and then used his sword to chop his head armor, making him retreat again and again, and his head was buzzing. At this time, everyone in the Samori family looked at Vasily with horror, who blocked 5 senior Storm Knights with his own strength. The opponent grabbed the knight's sword and hit a senior Storm Knight with his backhand, which frightened everyone in the Samori family. What they didn't expect was that the master around Sunan was so powerful. Could it be that this knight has reached the level of a great knight? and the black knife in his hand is definitely a famous weapon. Any weapon that touches the black knife will be shattered. On the city wall, 200 crossbowmen aimed at Vasily at the same time. At the same time, Count Samori shouted, "Stop it." Count Samori looked at Vasilian, then at Sunan and said, "Okay, I agree. Please ask Count Peter to return our family's inherited treasure to us." The knights of the Samori family looked at the Count in disbelief. "Count, that knight is a bit tricky, but with so many of us, we can always find a way to deal with him." Count Samori snorted. "The most important thing now is to deal with those untouchable thugs who believe in the god of law. Those heretics must have hated me, so they deliberately attacked Lord Sunan. If I have a conflict with Lord Sunan, it will be their wish. Compared to that, I believe that if I give up the trade privileges, military stationing rights and port use rights of the territory, Mr. Sunan Peter should understand that our family really has no intention of going to war. The most important thing is that there is nothing anyway." Count Samori's meaning is also very simple. He is now seriously injured. His eldest son died because of the thugs, and everything in the territory is in decline. If there is a conflict with the Peter family again, there will be no fun. He also saw from what he had just seen that Vasilian beside Sunan was most likely a figure of the Great Knight level. A Storm Knight was a powerful figure who could travel across several military regions. Since the Peter family had such strength, it would be better for their Samori family not to conflict with the Peter family. Read the error-free version at 69 Bookbar. 69 Books Bar publishes a novel for the first time. Read at 69 Books Bar. Count Samori even thought darkly that it must be the evil conspiracy of those thugs to bring such a powerful Peter family here. There must be spies from those thugs in his family and his castle. He must check. Sunan closed the window of the carriage. "That's it, Count Samori, you made a wise decision. You avoided a meaningless war. I believe you have no intention of assassinating me, but I think there should be some spies planted by others in your family. You can check it yourself, and don't be misled and become someone's knife." Count Samori secretly breathed a sigh of relief, and at the same time he smiled and said, "Of course, Count Peter. It's great that you can trust me. If you can lend me some troops, or even help me station troops on the border." Sunan was speechless. No wonder this birdman agreed so readily. You know, this treaty was almost prepared for the defeated country. It turned out that this guy was planning to ask me to borrow troops to suppress this mess. If there is a way to save it, it's fine. The key is that the Count Samori family does not understand the way of ruling at all. After signing the agreement with Count Samori, Sunan asked Vasily to move the Samori family's collection of books into his carriage. Then he immediately asked Vasily to drive the carriage back to the territory. He was too lazy to help the Samori family to suppress their territory. It would be more cost effective to leave as soon as possible. Anyway, the goal has been achieved. In this way, the politics of the area where his territory is located are basically controlled by him. He can collect magic resources in Maple Leaf Town and continue to study magic in the castle. Although it is possible that the power of the blind nun is about to extend to the South Thrace military region, the surrounding outer territory defense he has established should be able to play a lot of role. Next, he can return to the territory and concentrate on researching and developing the underground world resource library so that his mental power can break through 80 as soon as possible and upgrade the current magic potion to the level of 4 sublimation. Chapter 165 Peter's Wizard Family. After returning to Peter's territory, Sunan quickly entered the stage of concentrating on research, and in the process, he briefly received Borgia who was returning to the voyage, and at the same time, Blom also returned to the territory. However, before Borgia left, Sunan arranged for Pera to temporarily become Borgia's personal protector. After all, it was a bishop that he had finally controlled. If he was allowed to wander around outside and then die in an assassination or on a woman's belly, it would be too ridiculous. Pera had taken the 3 sublimated mutant potions, but had not yet digested the power of the medicine. However, even so, Sunan had already refined the limit claw potion and boiling potions within a week. With the additional skills of the 7 claws potion and 3 violent skills, Para could probably kill a second class wizard apprentice alone, as long as she had enough fighting spirit. The most important thing is that Pera needs to go out to hone her skills, otherwise she will only become the head maid in her own castle for the rest of her life, stop growing, and then stay at this point forever, and drift away from herself and others. Within this week, Borgia and Sunan attended 3 dances together, went hunting once, and watched a drama event held by the people of Maple Leaf Town. The relationship between the two has become very close, since Sunan is far superior to Borgia in both emotional intelligence and IQ. When Sunan talks to him, Borgia feels like he has found a soulmate in life. Sunan said some things that Borgia hadn't said in his heart yet. This made Borgia feel as if he had found another self in this world. Borgia's suggestions to Sunan became unreasonable. So, Borgia left the dock with a strong personal worship of Sunan and set out on the road back to the Achean pastoral area. Sunan looked at his departing ship and shrugged his shoulders. Butler Warwick smiled and said, "You are so cruel." Sunan looked at him strangely. Butler Warwick smiled and said, "Your emotional intelligence is much higher than his. You have perfectly copied the thoughts of Borgia. You can talk to him everywhere, but he doesn't know that this is the result of your backward compatibility. He just thinks you are his lifelong confidant. You will never meet the same kind of person again. He spent a happy week with you, but when he returns to the Achean pastorate, he will find that no one around him can understand him like you do. He will be very uncomfortable next. Then he will obey your orders more." Sunan waved his hand. "It's just a matter of convenience. After all, he is the bishop who was raised by me. I can't abandon him casually." "Warwick, you are making things too serious, as if I'm an evil wizard who manipulates human nature." After Sunan left, the old butler Warwick smiled and whispered, "I just admire your art of manipulating people's hearts." And relieved. "The old baron will be very happy. Our Peter family will grow to a larger level than the original nobles. We will become a powerful wizard family." In Warwick's heart, the wolf pack is more like a big family than a legion. A family belonging to Peter's wizard family. In the attic of the castle, during this period, Sunan had already completed the refining of boiling potion and limit claw potion, and also completed the development of Akshay's bullet. Sunan looked at the glimmer potion that the world witch sold to him on the table in front of him, and the intelligent brain also listed the formula of the glimmer potion. 5 grams of lantern grass powder, 5 grams of rush, 2.5 grams of sage grass, 3.5 grams of sage mash, half a gram of mint, and half a gram of rosemary. The order of adding materials during refining cannot be wrong, otherwise it will turn this potion into poison. The control of the heat can be rough. Use medium heat throughout the process, and need to simmer for 10 minutes at the last moment. The main material is sage, which itself contains medicinal properties that enhance human cognition and concentration. When refining, there should be a special spell, but it is relatively simple, and substitutes have been reversed. Sunan asked, "Can it be optimized?" The original glimmer potion of the Witch of the World can only allow the user to maintain a 1% - 2% increase in mental power within a month. To be honest, this is too low. For those wizard apprentices who have lived in this barren land for a long time in anonymity, it may be tolerable, and they will use their own time to slowly increase it. But for Sunan, this speed is too slow to bear. Recently, Vasila's mental power has been rapidly improved under the infusion of 2 magic potions. Recently, it has increased by 12, and his mental power is already 32. It is expected that in a relatively short period of time, the limit of the 2 magic potions to improve mental power will be reached. Of course, because his speed of learning meditation is much lower than his own, it is estimated that it will take longer than Sunan. Read the error-free version at 69 Book Bar. 69 Book Bar publishes a novel for the first time. The resources in the territory are enough for Sunan to give some to Vasilian for cultivation. Vasilian can actually be regarded as his apprentice. Whether it is Blom or Warwick, they are all werewolf branches. Werewolves do not follow the wizard route, but take the route of extreme physical strengthening. Therefore, Sunan only provides them with some magic potions of spirit strength +2 or less made by the wizard's hand on Sunday, so that they can slightly improve their spirit strength, and it will be about 5 or 6. Sunan looked at the glimmer potion in front of him. By analyzing the principle of the glimmer potion, can the performance of this potion be improved to enhance my meditation learning efficiency? Now, his major is still the Oak Wizard's Tree of Life meditation method. Yes, the principle of the Glimmer Potion is to enhance the wizard's soul stability and improve the meditation efficiency through this method. You can use Codonopsis, Licorice and Acanthopanax to enhance the soul stability effect of the Glimmer Potion, which is expected to increase the meditation efficiency to more than 50%. And the development of the formula of the Glimmer Potion was an extreme failure. The developers only noticed that sage contained a kind of medicinal power that could improve the stability of the soul, but did not notice that the special medicinal power of sage could directly improve the wizard's mental power. It is like picking up sesame seeds and losing watermelons. Because there are two other series of potion development work, the optimization of the formula of the Glimmer Potion can be completed within 3 days. At the same time, the research and development of the formula for mental strength enhancement +5 has been completed, and the formula for the life essence concentration +1 potion has been completed. It is expected that your mental power should quickly reach 80 mental power under the effect of the 3 potions, and enter the 4th sublimation. And the new potion should still have a very powerful effect before your mental power reaches 90. Sunan nodded. Then we will pre-study the formula of the spiritual power enhancement +6 potion and the life essence concentration +2 potion. At the same time, we will rename the Glimmer Potion to the Flash Potion and start calculating the Flash +1 potion. These potions are related to whether he can quickly reach the limit of human mental power improvement 100 times in a short period of time. Sunan took a look and found that the main ingredients of the spiritual power enhancement +5 potion formula are licorice, ginseng, jujube seeds, black tea leaves, and Centella asiatica. This potion series that has been with him until now has become very complicated, but its biggest advantage is that the medicine is mild. The core ingredients of the life essence concentration +1 potion are the oak leaves of the Oak Wizard Tower, the flowers of the giant sunflower, a spoonful of the fountain of life, and the giant radish in the Four Seasons garden. Chapter 166, Spiritual Power 80 and Flash Potion. 3 days later, Sunan finished the Flash Potion. The color of the Flash Potion itself is golden blue, similar to the Glimmer Potion, but after drinking the Glimmer Potion, the pores of the skin of the body will emit a faint light within 10 minutes. Experiments have been done with some of the original Glimmer Potion. After drinking the Flash Potion, the wizard's skin will become very shiny, emitting an ivory white milky light. The hidden magic of Sage began to take effect. Your mental power increased by 2, and your current mental power is 64.02. Sunan raised his eyebrows, and he realized that the efficiency of his meditation method has indeed increased by half. If this speed is told to the friends in the witch gathering, I'm afraid they will all go crazy. The effect of the Flash Potion will also begin to decline as the number of times it is drunk increases. But before that, it is enough to develop subsequent potions in advance. Sunan drank the mental power strengthening +5 potion and the life essence concentration +1 potion. Your mental power increased by 1, your mental power increased by 1, and your current mental power is 66.02. Sunan felt very satisfied with his magic power rising. Now he has entered a period of rapid growth of mental power. At that time, he had learned a 0.7 ring magic, Enlightenment of Ordinary Treeman, of the Oak Wizard. This spell can enlighten the treeman and let it exist for an hour. The strength of this treeman is about the same as that of a formal storm knight. It will be slightly stronger. At the same time, during this period, he also used a large amount of mental potions to make up for mental consumption, ignoring the mental power consumed by the failure to build the spell model, and quickly constructed the Akshay bullet spell. However, Sunan did not learn the magic of the Glacier Sleep meditation system. It would be better for him to learn a fire magic that increases attack power and then build a 0.7 ring plant magic. In this short period of time, he also completed the second potion learning 0.7 ring magic, potion throwing spell. Using this spell, the potion bottle can form a disc-like circle behind you, rotating behind you, and at the same time, throw the potion accurately in front of you according to your mind. The speed is very fast. In essence, this is a magic that can increase the speed, accuracy, and efficiency of potion throwing. It will be very useful in battle and in the research process when combined with his potion remote injection spell. because when he is refining potions, he can directly use this magic to put a bunch of empty potion bottles, or semi-finished potions, and finished potions behind him, which is more conducive to refining potions. Moreover, it will be more convenient to refine potions when fighting with others. In the next day, Sunan completed the refining of the 3-level sublimation level of the sleeping potion and the 3-level sublimation level of the Akasha bullet potion. The sleeping potion was developed by analyzing the efficacy of the main material of the glimmer potion, sage, and finding that the special magic of sage can force people to sleep. The sleeping potion is a fully upgraded version of the sleepy bug potion. It can force the enemy to sleep deeply. The Akasha bullet potion just stores the Akasha bullet spell in the potion. There is no big change. The spell model itself is relatively refined, which means that the wizard who designed this spell should be a very capable wizard. Another 2 weeks passed, and Sunan's mental power had reached 80. At this time, his mental power improvement speed began to slow down again. But because he took 3 kinds of potions in a row, he could still increase a lot of mental power every day, and his situation was much better than before. Even if he did not study new potions, he combined the 3 potions to learn meditation and improve his efficiency, which was more than 10 times that of ordinary wizard apprentices learning meditation. At the same time, during these 2 weeks, Sunan used Hive Consciousness Potion and Swarm Fungal Blanket Potion, and finally determined the Hive Consciousness and Swarm Fungal Blanket of his Scarab Swarm. 1,000 meters away from the underground passage, Sunan built a simple werewolf stronghold here, which was also his own laboratory. Most of the building materials were looted from the underground world, so the architectural style was somewhat similar to the underground world. Many metal bricks formed a dungeon-like building. There were at least more than 300 corpses of lizardmen piled here, and Sunan refined 33 bottles of blood essence of Kimura crawling giant lizards. Since the petrified witch needs dragon-like blood, then collect more and sell it to her when the time comes. In the base of the underground passage, Sunan was dissecting the body of a fire dragon lizardman. He wanted to see why this lizardman could spit out flames. Because this lizardman's mental power is not enough, it is impossible to cast spells. The reason why he had time to enter the underground world was that after a short period of time, after the mental power exploded, although taking potions to increase mental power would not cause any hidden dangers, let alone affect the foundation. Because the quality of Sunan's 3 kinds of magic potions is very high, the mental power obtained by taking these magic potions is even more stable and more condensed than the mental power converted by practicing meditation. It's just that in a short period of time, the mental power exploded by more than 20 times, directly jumping from 3 sublimations to 4 sublimations, even better than the average senior first-class wizard apprentice. So Sunan still needs some time to adapt to his changed mental power. Moreover, I have temporarily asked the intelligent brain to put most of its computing power on the calculation of 4th sublimation werewolf potion formula, advanced sacrifice stone golem formula, advanced death knight formula, and scarab advanced sunmark formula. Now, my mental power and mana have reached 80, so I'm naturally capable of refining a 4-time sublimation potion. I'm now more than twice as powerful as when I first entered the witch market. Read the error-free version on 69 Book Bar. 69 Book Bar publishes a novel for the first time. Read on 69 Book Bar. I'm afraid that among the regulars of the witch gathering, except for Justice and the petrified witch, no wizard will be my opponent in a head-on battle. In the passage of the underground world, Warwick returned with 10 super werewolf messengers, and at the same time, brought back 30 lizardmen corpses, but these lizardmen were all in blue scale armor. Warwick changed back into human form, and threw the 5 bodies of blue dragon lizardmen on the ground. He said to Sunan, "Young master, these blue lizardmen can actually spit out icy breath. Although they can't freeze the werewolves, they do slow us down a bit." Sunan was not too surprised. So that's how it is. In addition to the superior races like the fire dragon lizardmen, they also have this modified race of lizardmen that may be mixed with blue dragon blood creatures. I have dissected these lizardmen and found that their stomachs have been modified. The acid in their stomachs can be mixed with some magical energy to produce specific magical energy characteristic mutations. In this way, they can spit out magic that can only be released by third-class wizard apprentices without sufficient casting ability. Although the power is small, if these large numbers of lizardmen spit at one place at the same time, the power will still be considerable. But the solution is also simple. For example, if you encounter this kind of lizardman who spits out ice breath, you use boiling or ordinary rage to charge the blood and get rid of the influence of low temperature. Sunan thought, this is obviously a transformation for large-scale legion battles. I guess the underground world now probably doesn't understand the technology of these modified lizardmen in their hands very well, but simply inherits it. Otherwise, they would not be transformed like they are now. Because this method of using quantity over quality is obviously prepared for large-scale wars. And the intensity of the underground world's war against me is not great at the moment. Instead, it is closer to the scale of the battles encountered by the elite vanguard team. If they really know what they are doing and what the purpose of the magic in their hands is, they should change it. It seems that some arcane masters in the underground world don't know what they have in their hands. They are using magic that they don't understand at all. They are just imitating and copying the magic of the past. Sunan sensed that Jinx contacted him in a tunnel 2000 meters underground. However, my modified scarab swarm has reached the level of 3 sublimations. I also gave Jinx the scarab intermediate's unmarked potion before. After she took it, her appearance changed a lot. Let's go see her. I want to thank the underground world for cultivating my swarm for me. When the old butler Warwick thought of Jinx, he said, Jinx is a very cute scarab queen. It's just that the number of her modified scarab subspecies is too large. It dazzles me, and Jinx likes me to go see her swarm. But sometimes I really can't appreciate it. Sunan said, some subspecies are simply invalid evolution, or degenerate. I will simplify it later. Chapter 167. Formal declaration of war on the Drow. In the temporary base 3000 meters underground in the territory of Baron Peter, the female Drow, Zushang, led her 200 blue dragon lizardmen, 500 ordinary lizardmen, and thousands of dungeon slave races, to take over the outpost. At the same time, the female Drow, Zushang, also took control of the Drow warriors on the mountain. In the dungeon base, which was like a prison-style hall, the female Drow, Zushang, used a knife to continuously cut a surface human that she had captured from other areas. This surface human could only make some simple groans. It was basically in a half-dead state. The female Drow, Zushang, looked at the farmer on the surface with contempt and said, recently, we have had a rich harvest in the country on the surface. A steady stream of new slaves have been sent down from above. The economy of the main city of Rai was about to collapse, but because of these new slaves, our slave economy has regained its vitality. We are even selling surface human slaves to other underground main cities and other arcane families in exchange for higher quality Etherstones. You know, slaves have always been the lifeblood of the underground city, which is why the mistress asked us to attack the surface. Not only that black hole, but also the black hole under our main city. It also needs slaves. Then Shanshang, for what reason did you make up a reason that the surface bugs would invade us? And before I took over the base, you even led troops to resist me, wanting to escape in the underground world, and let me waste more than half a month on you. The female Drow warrior Zushang looked at her nephew with contempt. Drow people are strong by nature, because in the terrible underground world, only the strong can survive, and the weak are only worthy of being slaves. During this period, I did lose some soldiers, but they are just a group of slave soldiers anyway, so it doesn't matter if a few of them die. I'll give you a chance to live. The female Drow warrior Zushang threw a dagger in front of the Drow warrior Shanshang and said, use this dagger to pierce the heart of this surface human and kill him. Use your blood to prove to me that you are still a Drow warrior who can execute orders regardless of everything, and do whatever it takes to achieve your goals. Let him go. The 2 strong blue dragon lizard generals immediately let go of Shanshang. The physical skills of the Drow are naturally equivalent to those of formal knights. As long as they are adults, they basically have data above 3. This race is a natural strong race. The Drow have always been the ruling race in the underground world. They are rare in number, but every Drow has the possibility of becoming an arcane master. Even if they don't become arcane masters, they can become the guards of the arcane masters, drow warriors. What the female drow warrior Zhu Shang did not expect was that her nephew, the moment he was released, immediately cried out in tears, "If you want to kill me now. Otherwise, don't lock me up in this dungeon, which has been invaded by the Zerg. Either let me go or kill me now. You don't want to face the Zerg. You are too proud. You didn't notice how terrible they are. Those guys eat everything and can devour everything. I don't want to be eaten by them. Don't ever lock me up in this dungeon stronghold. I'm tired of seeing them." Zhu Shang. The female drow warrior Zhu Shang was frightened by Shan Shang's madness, but when she reacted, she looked at Shan Shang with disgust. "Is this a new way of staying alive? Someone, lock this trash in the dungeon for me. We drow warriors are fearless. You trash." Suddenly, a leader of the blue dragon lizardmen ran into the main hall of the dungeon, knelt down to the female drow warrior Zhu Shang, and reported, "Master, the 30 blue dragon lizardmen we went to explore the surface are missing." The female drow warrior Zhu Shang immediately took 2 steps forward. What? 30 heads of the superior race disappeared at once. Those blue dragon lizardmen can use freezing and vomiting. That is a superior race that can use spell-like abilities, which is completely different from the low-level ordinary reptile lizardman. Are you sure? The blue dragon lizardman leader knelt on the ground with his head close to the ground. There is a lot of blood where they disappeared, but the bodies are gone. The female drow warrior Zhu Shang blinked. What do they want the bodies for? Do they need to put the bodies into the other black hole fragments like us to reduce the expansion speed of the black hole? You are a bunch of trash. Pass my order to execute 200 cryptmen immediately and hang them outside the dungeon stronghold. Tell all the slave soldiers that, if any soldier dares not to do his best, they will all die like those cryptmen. The blue dragon lizardman leader was so scared that his tail was about to fall off. There was no way. In this slave city state, only a few drow were considered human beings, and the other species were just their slaves. When they are happy, it's nothing to kill a few people in the street. With just one sentence, thousands of slaves can be ordered to commit suicide. If they don't commit suicide, their entire clan will be exterminated. This cruel underground world has always made them endure this way. If anyone can't stand it, they can only endure it like that. Who told you that you have a bad reincarnation technique and weren't born at Rao? Zhu Shang hasn't recovered from his anger yet. By the way, kill the 10 surface humans we caught, and then find a way to plant them on the surface. Suddenly, a cold voice appeared in the main hall of the underground base. "No need. You don't have a chance." The female drow warrior suddenly shuddered, pulled out a weapon from her back, and aimed at Sunan and Warwick, who suddenly appeared in the main hall. Warwick said to Sunan, "Young master, do you want to kill them, or catch them and conduct experiments?" Sunan smiled and said, "I think there should be more drow in the underground world. These 2 drow warriors will be used to level up my swarm. I hope the swarm will sublimate 4 times, as soon as possible." Hearing the word swarm, Shan Shang's eyes widened and looked at Sunan. "You are the controller of those insect swarms. Are there such powerful people on the surface?" Sunan completely ignored him and said to Warwick, "I would rather capture the Rye Mistress, dissect her body directly, observe her blood, and the flow of arcane magic. I already have some guesses about arcane magic. If we study her body structure, we should be able to analyze the truth of arcane magic." Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 69 book bar publishes a novel for the first time. Read at 69 book bar. Warwick saluted Sunan. "That's my meddling." Shan Shang and Zhu Shang on the side widened their eyes, and many lizard slaves couldn't believe that these 2 surface people were discussing in front of them how to conduct experiments on the Rye Mistress after capturing her. At this moment, these slave races felt that their worldviews were about to collapse. Zhu Shang gritted his teeth. "Arrogant surface person, how did you come to the underground? How dare you blaspheme the supreme mistress? The mistress is the master of all of us, and our slave owner. You." Sunan looked at Zhu Shang and said, "Although there are not many people, several of my subjects are missing on the ground. I think you must have captured them. First, hand them over immediately. Second, the sky, surface and underground of my territory all belong to me. Therefore, your main city of Rai will move immediately and swear never to infringe on my territorial rights and give me corresponding compensation. Otherwise, we will go to war. Zhu Shang's pupils dilated, and he was silent for a long time. Absurd. Sunan said indifferently, then declare war. He was originally looking for Jinx, but who knew that Jinx had already killed her way into the world 8,000 meters underground in this month. So when Sunan passed by this stronghold, he heard that the drow warrior Zhu Shang was going to plant 10 surface human corpses on his territory to warn him. He really gave her face. The reason they are still alive is not because they are strong, but because of my kindness. I want to use them to level up my insects. But now, since they are getting ahead of me, I will kill them. Sunan looked around, and suddenly the whole underground base was filled with the roar of insects, which was the roar of the thrice sublimated insect swarm. Sunan didn't even look at them, and took Warwick away. The drow warriors were just inferior products of second-class wizard apprentices, not even proper wizard apprentices. I have no interest in such inferior drow or failed experiments of wizards. Zhu Shang roared, stop, this is the main hall of the dungeon base in my Rai main city. Surface people, you can come and go as you please. Come on. The 4 blue dragon lizardmen heard the slave owner's order and rushed to Sunan, but before they got 5 meters close to Sunan, a strong magic pressure suddenly descended on them, and the 4 blue dragon lizardmen knelt on the ground with painful faces. I feel so uncomfortable, I can't breathe. My heart feels like it's being pressed down by a heavy object. What's going on? This is what happened to Sunan after his mental power broke through 80. His mental power was completely materialized. This is the result of a human soul increasing its mental power by 80 times. Materialized mental power can radiate magic pressure, which is an upgraded version of mental power radiation. The original mental power radiation pressure will only make people with low mental power have abnormal mental states. It will not cause actual physical harm to them. The upgraded version of magic pressure is different. The magic pressure released by Sunan can make ordinary people directly suffer physical harm when they are close to a first-class wizard apprentice with materialized mana, because of the huge gap between the two sides in mental power and mana. Unless there is a strong physical ability to support it, at least the level of a super werewolf messenger, the physical ability of these blue dragon lizardmen is not enough to offset this kind of damage. The 4 blue dragon lizardmen fell to the ground in pain at this moment, and the roots of the 4 underground plants pierced their chests in an instant. The drow warrior Zhu Shang was so frightened when he saw this scene that his teeth were chattering. It's the destroyer of the world, the wizard. Chapter 168 The Thrice Sublimated Swarm. In the dungeon outpost, the entire main hall was collapsing. Inside the steel pillars supporting the main hall, there were transformed scarabs that were larger than basketballs. It turned out that the load-bearing pillars of the entire main hall had already been devoured by the scarabs. It looked fine from the outside, but in fact, the inside was already a mess. Sunan just gave Jinx and her swarm a simple order to attack, and the main hall was about to collapse. At the same time, the entire dungeon outpost was collapsing like a small earthquake. Thousands of transformed scarabs, like a tide, engulfed the dungeon. The scarab swarm now had changes that did not occur during the second sublimation. First, Jinx had the main consciousness of the hive, and all the swarms would be connected to the main consciousness of the hive. In this way, there was basically no possibility of losing control. The essence of the hive consciousness is a collective consciousness of individual swarms, born out of pain and fear of the extinction of the swarm in the face of the attacks and damage of the lizardmen and the drow. The first goal of this collective consciousness is to maintain the survival of the swarm. It is not even the Jinx itself, nor is it the simple addition of the consciousness of each individual in the swarm itself, but a situation where 1 + 1 is greater than 2. It is different from the wolf pack effect. When Sunan used the hive consciousness potion to help the semi-completed hive consciousness complete its evolution, he transformed the hive consciousness based on the basic principles of the werewolf potion. In this way, the hive consciousness will equate the continuation of the tribe with having to obey its own orders. In other words, let the hive consciousness believe that once its own swarm leaves its rule, the swarm will die. Let the hive consciousness set itself as the first protection target. In this way, it greatly strengthens its control over the scarab swarm, and also allows the hive consciousness to access the wolf pack effect. The hive consciousness becomes a subset of the wolf pack effect. At this time, the arms of the thrice sublimated scarab swarm also changed dramatically, and there were almost no original scarab swarms in the second sublimation period. First, the most basic transformed scarabs, all of which were larger in size, from the size of a basketball to the size of a chair. Secondly, many new arms appeared, such as the shield scarabs with a golden chitin shield on their heads. When these shield scarabs formed a swarm, the golden chitin shields on their heads would overlap. It was like the shield soldiers of the human soldier phalanx, who would stack shields on shields to form a strong defense. The original spike scarabs and magma scarabs also became larger in size, and the tank scarabs had disappeared because they evolved into tunnel scarabs. The tunnel scarabs were as big as elephants, and their mouth pits were specialized. They were very efficient in digging underground tunnels. They could also dig while using the chitin shell armor that grew on their bodies, which was equivalent to 13 times that of ordinary scarabs, to resist enemy attacks and launch attacks. The original node scarabs have also disappeared and have become more specialized, giving up their melee combat capabilities and turning into translucent Lord scarabs. Lord scarabs can transmit the spiritual fluctuations of the hive consciousness and better command the swarm. The initial framework of the triple sublimated scarab swarm is a command framework of Mother Jinx, Lord Scarab, Scarab Troops. The basic unit is the modified scarab, the ranged unit is the magma scarab and the bone scarab, and the tank is the tunnel scarab. The lizardman troops in the entire dungeon were fiercely attacked the moment they encountered the triple sublimated swarm. In the martial arts field of the dungeon stronghold, the blue dragon lizardmen formed a square formation and kept spitting cold breath at the tunnel scarabs attacking them, but despite this, the modified scarab swarm hiding behind the tunnel scarabs still rushed into their square formation with their numerical advantage. Then, there was a massacre. Everywhere there were blue dragon lizardmen and the screams of ordinary lizardmen fleeing frantically. Because this was different from the ordinary wars in the underground world. In the wars between the underground worlds, at most a group of soldiers were captured and then resold as slave soldiers. But the attack of the scarab swarm on them was extinction oriented, and each scarab was devouring quickly. Inside the main hall of the stronghold, the female drow warrior Zushang acted. She enchanted her samurai sword with the palm of her left hand, and dark energy immediately attached to it. She rushed to the side of Shan Shang who was shouting and asking for help, and slashed at him with a knife. Suddenly, 3 invisible slashes followed her samurai sword like a shadow. The 2 modified scarabs that wanted to kill Shan Shang and devour his flesh and blood flew backwards and were killed by the drow warrior Zushang. Zushang threw her secondary weapon to Shan Shang and at the same time used the samurai sword to cut the metal shackles on his hands. You can still move, right? This place is hopeless. I wrongly blamed you before. Not to mention that wizard. Even the insect swarms here are too many and too powerful. Fortunately, although these insect swarms are numerous, their individual strength is insufficient. We will find a weak point to kill them. I will let all the slave soldiers here stay and not allow them to escape, so as to buy us time. Shan Shang was somewhat moved. He was a little worried just now that his aunt Zushang would abandon him and run away directly. But the drow, although they admired the strong and never regarded slaves as human beings, were not so cruel to their own people. Zushang raised her samurai sword and whispered a short spell. Suddenly, the samurai sword she made of the iron of stillness began to vibrate, and all the dark energy was concentrated together. If this was not a weapon made of the iron of stillness, I'm afraid that this weapon would not be able to withstand the dark energy enchantment and would break directly. She swung her knife downwards, and dark energy crashed into the ground. The powerful dark energy wave knocked away all the modified scarab cannon fodder soldiers that rushed into the main hall, and killed many of them. This was the second arcane magic she mastered, Dark Energy Shock. Sunan noticed that the strength of this spell was equivalent to the spell released by a second-class senior wizard apprentice. The hive consciousness noticed the casualties of its group and immediately fell into rage and a deep desire to destroy its opponent. The hive consciousness applied to Sunan to use the tyrant scarab, and Sunan naturally agreed. In itself, the swarm's troops are all weak. The Worm Queen Jinx and her swarm are equivalent to a super large combination magic superimposed by Sunan using dozens of magic. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 69 book bar publishes a novel for the first time. 69 book bar reads, therefore, it is even more necessary to iterate through war, to allow the swarm to continue to evolve. And his various potions not only select and stabilize beneficial directions for them, but also the Sunmark potion itself only enhances their closeness with the sun, allowing them to gain stronger fertility. Therefore, the fertility of the thrice sublimated swarm is far greater than that of the thrice sublimated swarm. Soon, 20 tyrant scarabs, stepping on the heavy sound of shaking the earth, appeared at the door of the main hall of the dungeon stronghold. Zhu Shang and Shan Shang, who were about to take the opportunity to escape, saw the 10 tyrant scarabs standing upright in front of them, who had begun to abandon their insect limbs and use human limbs and feet, and stood like golden sun spheres one by one. Their pupils suddenly shrank. Each tyrant scarab has well-developed muscles. It is a fully upgraded version of the transformed scarab, and inherits the 13-layer scarab chitin armor of the tunnel scarab. These tyrant scarabs all have the ability to kill a senior official Storm Knight alone. They are the crystallization of the current evolution of the scarab swarm. It is a specialized elite force superimposed after all the evolutions of the swarm, and it will evolve as the swarm continues to evolve in the future. The next moment, these tyrant scarabs rushed forward, and Zhu Shang and Shan Shang, who had already used spells continuously and were out of breath, were no match for this group of tyrant scarabs. First, Shan Shang fell. His original force was about the combat power of 3 senior Storm Knights, but facing the continuous attacks of 10 tyrant scarabs, he was the first to be beaten black and blue, and the weapon in his hand was directly taken away by a tyrant scarab. Then came Zhu Shang, who held out for a while. Her force was about the combat power of 7 senior Storm Knights. Originally, she could hold out for a while under the siege, but when her nephew fell, she was immediately besieged by 20 tyrant scarabs. In the face of numbers, she was soon beaten and her samurai sword was knocked away. Before she was pressed to the ground by a group of tyrant scarabs, she secretly crushed a red ether stone in advance. Then, she was pinned to the ground by the tyrant scarab, unable to move. Zhu Shang was horrified and humiliated. Damn. We are the slave owners of the main city of Rai. We are treated like this. 2 drow were captured by the swarm at the same time. But the hive consciousness did not let the scarabs eat them, but captured the 2 drow instead. Sunan was a little surprised by this, but Jinx explained in the wolf pack effect, the hive consciousness believes that this kind of creature is still a valuable experiment for the master. Therefore, it does not want to devour them. This time, the hive consciousness also basically kept the bodies of the blue dragon lizardmen and ordinary lizardmen who died in the battle intact. Master, you can extract the blood of these corpses, and extract the dragon blood that is useful to you. Sunan thought for a moment and said, that's good. Dragon blood can accelerate the evolution of the Zerg, and make the Zerg magic more complete. When I ask Sunday to refine the dragon blood, I can give some of it to your Zerg. Dragon blood can also be made into a temporary body enhancement potion. I can keep some for the wolf pack. Warwick said from behind Sunan, young master. Werewolves can also gain some strength by killing people, and they can also hone their martial arts, so I suggest that Mr. Blom come down from the ground as well. Didn't he get a new weapon recently? I think Mr. Solon has high hopes for his weapon, so it's time to test the weapon. Anyway, the castle is protected by Mr. Vasily and the Golem Legion. Mr. Vasily is learning meditation, and we werewolves can't waste time. In the wolf pack effect, Blom made a complaint. I'm still taking a nap. Mr. Warwick, don't mess with me. Chapter 169 Entering the Underground World. Discovering the Wig Mine. Blom took the initiative to enter the underground world and took the 32 super werewolves and 5 super werewolf deacons in the territory with him. 50 ordinary werewolves were left in the territory, and Wolf 3 and 2 other super werewolf deacons were also left in the territory. The number of super werewolves in the territory is still not enough. If we divide the troops a little, they will not be enough. At the same time, the thrice sublimated scarab beetle swarm is swarming towards the underground world, and after obtaining Sunan's permission, it goes directly from 8,000 meters underground to 12,000 meters underground where the main city of Rai is located. At the same time, because Zhu Shang crushed the red ether stone before being caught by the swarm, the sound of her being captured by the swarm was heard by all the drow in the main city of Rai. At this time, the drow dared to believe that they had been invaded and the enemy might have crossed the outpost and headed deeper underground. Maybe they have reached 5,600 meters underground. At that time, the drow matron of the main city of Rai frowned, and her drow guards also began to hear the sound. We have been invaded by the surface people. Once again, we have been invaded by the surface people. This is the absolute reality, not any lie. Please prepare for defense. Tens of thousands of monsters are coming towards our world. The face of the matron of Rai was serious, and she began to doubt. Didn't I say that the surface humans are very weak? Their administrative organization is lax, and the weak dare not listen to the strong. There is also something called gold coins that allow the weak to drive the strong. Their army is very weak, and the surface people like to enjoy. Those surface humans are probably the same race as the underground people. They are just a slave race. How dare they invade my world? I'm an arcane master who can kill first class wizard apprentices. Gather the army of Rai main city. I will kill all those surface people. The roar of the Rai mistress immediately attracted thousands of shouts from the underground city. These creatures of the slave race are all her slaves. So these slaves will neither help her reflect nor refuse to provide her with help. They even want to please the Rai mistress one by one to improve their own status in the Rai main city. Therefore, when the Rai mistress roared, countless slaves were shouting under her gorgeous palace, amplifying her voice. Kill all the people on the surface. Kill all the people on the surface. The voices of the slaves came like mountains and seas, one after another, and continuously. Rai looked down at these slaves, controlled by her magic, and smiled with satisfaction. She was an arcane master who owned the entire world. If the people on the surface really dared to come down, she would make them pay with blood. 12,000 meters underground, next to a mining town in a wilderness outside the main city of Rai, Sunan took Warwick, Blom, Jinx, wolves and insects, and jumped down from the mine in the underground world. As soon as he came in, Sunan looked around in surprise. So this is the underground world. This vast underground world cannot be said to be without any light. At least in the sky of the underground world, that is, the thick rock layer, there are many fungi that glow in the dark. The light green light, like the starry sky at night, shines above the underground world. However, the night sky of this underground world is always this kind of starry sky. There is no distinction between day and night. The underground world is filled with a special smell of heavy metals smelted in metallurgical factories. At the same time, there are rock layers everywhere, and there are almost no plants. And the temperature here is very high, generally at least 45 degrees. This can explain why the main transformation army of the underground world is lizardmen. The disadvantage of reptiles that cannot maintain their own body temperature disappears under the special temperature of this underground world. Warwick stepped on a piece of coal, frowned with some disgust, and transformed into a huge mutant werewolf to isolate the influence of high temperature on his body. Blom said, "Master, it's too hot here. Even if we conquer it, it's not suitable for humans to live here." Sunan raised his eyebrows and said, "After I looked at the environment here, I suspect that the lizardmen and the races of the underground world cannot adapt to life on the surface. No wonder the two ogres have poor eyesight. I suspect that the lizardmen may be frozen to death in the winter night of the Storm Kingdom." The old butler Warwick said, "Young master, the more than 100 monsters from the underground world that we captured are indeed in the dungeon, wailing that they are cold." Sunan understood. The creatures of this underground world have obviously made a serious mistake. If they really set up a long-term base on the surface, they will probably find that the Night of the Storm Kingdom is equivalent to a collective freezing spell for them. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 69 book 1 bar publishes a novel for the first time. Read Sunan at 69 book bar and raise his eyebrows. I don't see the lizardman army carrying anti-frostbite equipment when they prepare to establish the first base in my Peter territory and Med's territory. The Arcanists in the underground world should have provided technical and magical support to their army like wizards. Are they too disdainful to care so much about their slaves, or have the IQs of the Arcanists degenerated to a pathetic level like those of the warlocks? Jinx said to Sunan in her mind through the wolf pack effect, "Master, my swarm and I like the temperature here. This temperature is more suitable for the hatching of insect eggs. We like it here very much." Sunan said, "Then I will let you stay underground in Peter territory from now on. Jinx, your swarm can move freely. You will follow me for the time being. I will protect you." Although the Arcanists do not seem to be as smart as the orthodox wizards, they still have to prevent the Arcanists from discovering the spiritual connection of the swarm, finding Jinx's existence from the spiritual connection, and launching a decapitation tactic against Jinx. Now Jinx has all the life essence of the Zerg in her body, and is the ultimate beneficiary of all the evolution of the Zerg. If she dies, Sunan will have to do all the previous work again, and he may not be able to achieve the success he has now. Jinx said excitedly, "Then I will start laying the fungal blanket first." Sunan is ready to further explore this underground world that is always under the starry sky. He senses that there are a large number of fifth element, ether, concentrated in front of him, and he looks out and sees many grey dwarf slaves, the Etherstone mine being excavated, and the grey dwarf town next to the Etherstone. Sunan raised his eyebrows. Before, he suspected that, because the ether element was too heavy, there was not much ether element on the surface. Now these ether element have accumulated together and turned into ore veins, exposed on the surface of the underground world. The ether element should be discovered on a large scale by the underground evasive wizards in the past. They developed many applications after entering the underground, which is one of the important reasons why this wizard society has become different from the wizard society on the surface. And Etherstone has many applications. Sunan thought. When used with magic potions, Etherstone can enhance one's mental strength, and he has seen many wonderful uses of ether before. The most common Etherstone can turn the enemy's weapons and armor into something like noodles. The red Etherstone seems to have some kind of communication function. Entering the Etherstone mine area may find the answer and discover the secret of Etherstone. And harvesting an Etherstone mine area means that he can also have Etherstone with so many wonderful uses. Blom saw a wooden sign in front of the Etherstone mine area, with words written in a variant of the common language of the continent on it, but because the words in the underground world in the mainland are not so different, Blom can still barely recognize the words on it. The largest Etherstone mine in Rye City, Wig Mine. Anyone who enters will be killed immediately. "Master, it seems that people are not allowed to enter here," Sunan said indifferently. "Oh, that's why. Then this mine is mine." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 170, The First Battle with the Arcanist. Wig Mining Area. Sunan saw that there were many exposed mineral veins in pits that had not been dug for many meters. The lizardman supervisors whipped the naked grey dwarves with whips, forcing them to transport the mine carts full of gravel faster or to dig, or with iron pickaxes more vigorously. There were about 3,000 grey dwarves and more than 100 lizardman supervisors in the entire mining area. A female grey dwarf holding a child fell in the mining area and stopped breathing. At the same time, the child in her arms also fell to the ground. She burst into tears. Several young and strong grey dwarves wanted to go over and help the child, but they were mercilessly whipped by the cold-blooded lizardmen. It was not because of religious hatred, nor was there any racial hatred. Letting the grey dwarves rest for a while would not affect their interests, but the lizardmen still did not allow the grey dwarves to rest. There was no other reason. In this world full of slaves, every slave would seize the opportunity to vent their anger on slaves of lower status than themselves. Moreover, these cold-blooded reptiles have no emotion of sympathy at all. The lizardman supervisors kicked the female grey dwarf's body aside and prepared to strangle the crying grey dwarf child to death. To prevent his crying from disturbing them or affecting the efficiency of the grey dwarf's mining, Whoever dares to be lazy will die immediately. Don't stop. You dwarves are born to mine. Anyway, don't you like mining? Then dig more for the mistress. Now the war is coming, and we need more and more etherstone. There is an enemy attack. Oh, no. The lizardman supervisor looked up and saw Sunan, Blom and Warwick standing on the top of the mine. The next moment, he was torn into pieces by Wolf 2's claws. Now the mutant werewolf, after the full state, each attack, with 7 claws skills, has an attack strength of 0.7 rings. This lizardman supervisor was directly knocked away by Wolf 2's claws, and then his body and bones were torn into pieces by this huge force. Wolf 2 activated the magic blood charging, 3 kinds of fury, and 1 boiling. His wolf hair turned bright red. Zhao Shen was wrapped in semi-substantiated blood magic, and his golden ring pupils were also stained with blood. Then, Wolf 2 took less than 3 seconds to kill all the dozens of lizardman supervisors who surrounded him. At the same time, Sunan's 30 super werewolf messengers changed from hound state to werewolf state at the same time. Each super werewolf can be compared with a senior storm knight. When the state is fully activated, all of them can play 0.5 ring force attack. When the last one, the fire dragon lizardman leader under the stone pavilion in the mining area, was lifted up by a super werewolf and the lizardman's skull was crushed, the entire Warwick mining area fell into Sunan's hands. Before the fire dragon lizardman died, he uttered words that were both terrified and meaningless. Wolf is coming. Sunan poured the upgraded 3x sublimation super blood essence extract potion on his left hand, and suddenly emerald green rings appeared on the 5 fingers of his left hand, and an emerald green ring appeared in the center of his palm. Then, he waved his hand, and the invisible magic pressure spread throughout the entire mining area. All the great dwarves were forced to fall to the ground under this magic pressure with a mental power of more than 80, and the blood in the bodies that came into contact with Sunan's magic power was all extracted by Sunan. More than 50 streams of blood flew back to Sunan. Sunan snapped his fingers, and the werewolves raised 5 glass bottles, and filled them with this blood. Sunan said with some dissatisfaction, only 4 bottles of blood from the Kimura crawling giant lizard and a drop of blood from the blue dragon pseudo dragon were extracted. Jinx, you should swallow this blood, just in time to replenish your body. Jinx cheered, took the 5 bottles of blood handed to her by the super werewolf, and poured them into her body, and began to digest this high energy blood at the same time. Sunan is using this method to replenish her with enough energy for the 4th sublimation mutation. The biggest gain of this trip to the underground world is probably his own insect swarm. He will give most of this magic blood to the scarab insect swarm to stimulate the insect swarm and increase the reproduction speed of the insect swarm, and then continue to iterate until the 4th sublimation is possible, and then use the advanced sunmark potion to help them complete the metamorphosis. Life is not only evolution, but also degeneration. Without Sunan, even the scarab insect swarm, with amazing reproductive capacity, may not be able to evolve correctly all the way. Sunan is using potions to stabilize the correct evolutionary direction of the insect swarm, prevent them from entering the dead end of evolution. Sunan walked to a grey dwarf pulling a minecart. The grey dwarf stood up immediately without the negative influence of magic pressure, and after looking at Sunan and others, he knelt directly in front of Sunan, who looked like the leader. Sunan picked up another stone on the minecart. He didn't expect that there were so many other ores in the underground world. As long as he occupied this mining area, he could completely solve the problem of mental power growth and reach mental power 100 directly. If he sold the flash potion with Etherstone to the friends in the gathering, even his friends in the gathering might quickly reach mental power 100. However, this latest product can only be sold if he has a better new generation product. Otherwise, it is easy to be backfired. Just like the Witch of the World, a strong grey dwarf looked at Sunan's appearance in confusion, and at the same time, looked at the terrible werewolves behind Sunan, as well as Wolf Tao and Wolfer who kept their magic blood charging state, and the magic brilliance visible to the naked eye on them. The strong grey dwarf said to Sunan nervously, "Powerful masters, so from now on, the mining area is yours. Can we continue to mine here? You are our masters now." Sunan raised his eyebrows. Indeed, the slaves in the slave world belong to whoever wins. In other words, even the slaves regard themselves as tools. Now these grey dwarves saw Sunan, and they killed all the overseers of the Rye Mistress, thinking that they were now Sunan's slaves. Sunan thought about it, and decided to forget it. Anyway, he just wanted to get the ether or area, so there was no need for him to easily change the local social structure. Don't let yourself collapse the system of the underground world, or you will have to add a lot of trouble to yourself. Sunan didn't say anything. The old butler Warwick glanced at Sunan, and then said to the grey dwarf leader, "This mining area is now taken over by the Peter family. You are all miners of the Peter family now, and you must not betray." Forget it, you don't understand what betrayal is. The premise of betrayal is that you have to be considered a person in the eyes of others. In this slave society, slaves are just tools. Therefore, the tools have no pressure to change their masters. The grey dwarves immediately knelt down to Sunan and others. "Long live the Peter family. The Peter family is our eternal master and our great and generous slave owner." The error-free version is available at 69 Book Bar. 69 Book Bar publishes a novel for the first time. Reading Sunan on 69 Book Bar was speechless. I didn't expect that I would become more and more a reactionary. I was once a feudal lord, but now I have become a slave owner. But these are all small things. Sunan took out a bottle of life essence potion, used the remote potion injection spell, and with a wave of his hand, he extracted about 1/10 of the potion's power and injected it into the grey dwarf baby. Suddenly, the grey dwarf baby, who was extremely weak and would not live long, was full of vitality, and his crying changed from intermittent and sharp to very healthy and loud. At the same time, Sunan waved his hand casually, and the whole bottle of life essence potion was consumed. The entire mining area was actually covered by the potion rain created by the remote potion injection spell. In the green halo, many grey dwarves who were originally sick from overwork began to recover some vitality. Unfortunately, Sunan spread the bottle of potion too far, so the effect was extremely limited. Sunan knew that even these slaves knew the difference between following a good master and a bad master. "You are now slaves of the Peter family. From now on, you will have a day off. At the same time, I treated you a little. In addition, I want to see the information about the etherstone in this mining area. Also, the grey dwarf town next to the mining area has now been expropriated by the Peter family as one of our outposts in the underground world from the surface world." The grey dwarves were a little stunned. They didn't expect that a great arcane master like Sunan would cast spells for these lowly miner slaves. This is amazing. It's like an emperor would lower his head to pay attention to the life and death of a beggar. Many numb grey dwarves felt warm in their hearts. Maybe the master they changed this time is really good. I hope they won't change masters so quickly. There is no way. The thinking of these slaves has been fixed. Even if they are grateful to Sunan, they don't want to change masters at most. Honor and sense of responsibility have disappeared in this 1,000 years of slavery. Personal bravery and pursuit of dignity have long been wiped out in the midst of ridicule and sarcasm. Just as the chief of the grey dwarves was about to lead Sunan and the others to the underground station, where the data was stored, a powerful dark energy suddenly came from afar. Sunan turned his head in surprise and saw a female drow suddenly appear on his left side, trying to rush towards him and chop him with a samurai sword, but was blocked by Warwick and Blum at the same time. The wolf claws collided with the samurai sword, emitting a powerful magical energy shock that soared into the sky. Sunan looked at the cloak of the female drow warrior who was staring at him in surprise. There was a pattern of an 8-legged spider weaving a web on it. That seemed to be the symbol of the Arcanist in the underground world. This was his first head-on confrontation with an Arcanist. The opponent's mental power was actually 25, which was the level of a first-class wizard apprentice. Sure enough, Arcanists are generally at the level of first-class wizard apprentices. The Great Arcanist is likely to be a formal wizard. Therefore, if there is really a Great Arcanist alive in this underground world, he must be an official wizard of the underground world. However, there should be no official wizards in Rye City. From the mouths of the lizardmen captives, we know that the Rye Mistress is just a very powerful Arcanist. At this time, the Arcanist drow looked at the two mutant werewolves blocking her in surprise, and at the same time, Wolf 1 and Wolf 2 had appeared behind her. Is there such a powerful race in the surface world? Even more troublesome than the upper races. But werewolves from the surface world, you shouldn't invade our world. This mining area is an important resource point for our main city. A strong dark energy appeared on the samurai sword of the female arcanist Drow. Blom seemed to have discovered something with the super sense of touch in his hands. Not good. Get out of the way. The female arcanist Drow laughed and said, "It's too late." Arcane Missile. Chapter 171, Capturing an Arcanist. The arcane master samurai sword continued to vibrate, and then arcane energy bombs formed in front of her. This energy bomb was divided into at least 7 energy balls, each of which contained 0.5 rings of magic power. At the moment she cast the spell, Sunan suddenly realized that the last syllable of each spell of the female arcane master had a special repetitive structure. This is a small trick that can be regarded as extraordinary spell casting. By repeating the last syllable of the last word of each spell, the power of the spell is enhanced, but the main enhancement should be the stability of the spell. When the female arcane master cast the spell, Sunan saw the flash of the spellcasting formula, which also made Sunan realize that the structure of this spell model seems to be different from the mainstream spell model on the ground more than 2000 years ago in some aspects. The spell model of the arcane master is very complicated, but because of too little observation, Sunan did not observe it completely. In theory, the magic system framework of both sides is the same. That is to say, the reason for the difference must be due to some special reasons. Sunan looked at the ether stone in his hand. The female Drow arcanist released 7 energy missiles. 6 of them accurately captured the positions of the 4 mutant werewolves and knocked them apart. At the same time, an energy missile attacked Sunan in an arc. Even though the 5 super werewolves discovered that someone was attacking their werewolf leader, they howled in anger and transformed into a giant wolf in wild shapeshifting to block Sunan in front of them, but the missile still drew a graceful arc and hit Sunan. It actually bypassed the 5 super werewolves' physical bodies. Oh. Sunan raised his eyebrows. He instantly realized that the opponent's spell model structure, which was too redundant compared to the normal spell model, was meaningful. For example, the so-called arcane missile actually had an arc trajectory and the function of accurately calculating attacks. The next moment, the arcane missile was blocked by Warwick, who quickly turned back to support. The arcane missile blasted a concave round pit in Mr. Warwick's chest, and it was bloody. The mutant werewolf's 5th level of immortality helped him to heal quickly. Sunan said to Warwick, "This little trick, if you don't help me block it, it can't hurt me." The old butler Warwick wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. "That won't do, young master. It's a shame for me as a noble butler to let the master get hurt. And the Drow over there, I admit that you have angered me a little." Warwick's eyes flashed with a bloodthirsty light. Werewolves have never been gentle and elegant. Violence is their mainstream. The female arcanist was a little surprised. "You didn't hit it? You're amazing for dodging my arcane missiles. You're a wizard on the surface. My arcane missiles have never missed you." Before the female arcanist could react, she saw Warwick, who had used magic charge, rage, level 2 rage, level 3 rage, first boiling and second boiling, coming in front of her and swinging a claw with a strength of nearly 0.8 rings. Catcher or the dark energy shield lingering around the female arcanist was torn apart the moment Warwick's wolf claws touched her. If she hadn't instinctively used arcane flash and instantly moved 10 meters away, she would have been torn into pieces by the furious Warwick's claws. Despite this, the female arcanist was still horrified to see that Warwick missed his claws and directly transformed into a giant wolf, rushing towards her. The speed was too fast. 10 meters was not enough to create a distance and give her time to react. After Warwick had boiled twice, the fire magic blood filled his body, causing his transformed werewolf and giant wolf to be covered with red wolf hair, and hot steam appeared around his body, evaporating water vapor. Warwick waved his claws in the giant wolf form, breaking the dark energy shield condensed by the female arcanist again, and knocked her out. The female arcanist was originally good at arcane magic and dark energy, and with the natural physique of the Drow official knight, she was good at close combat, but facing the violent wilderness giant wolf at this moment, she was beaten without any ability to fight back. The furious Warwick's attack was continuous like a tide, and it came in an instant like a storm. As long as the female arcanist paused for a moment, she would be torn into pieces. What kind of race is this? How can there be such a powerful melee ability? The female arcanist used arcane flash for the third time and instantly moved to a position 10 meters away, avoiding Warwick's claws containing the 7 claws skill. The place where she was originally located was immediately hit by the wolf claws to create a gully. I can't let that werewolf get too close to me. If I get hit by that claw, I'll die, the female arcanist judged. She chanted the spell of arcane missiles again, and 7 arcane energy missiles immediately attacked Warwick. The female arcanist panted and said, "You can't dodge my missiles." Warwick directly used his giant wolf form to deflect 2 arcane missiles with his claws, although his claws were also slightly damaged. But he is immortal. It's worth it to trade his injuries for attack speed. The next moment, the female arcanist watched Warwick take her 7 arcane missiles, and her pupils suddenly shrank. Before she was hit by the last attack, she used arcane blink to teleport away 10 meters away. A rock where she was originally located was hit by Warwick's claw. The wolf's claw, which contained 7 claw skills, directly cracked the rock and turned it into flying flame fragments. Read the error-free version at 69. 69 book bar first release a novel 69 book bar read at this moment. The female arcanist began to regret that perhaps she should not jump out immediately after these surface people occupied the Wigor field. She thought that she could defeat this group of intruders. However, she completely underestimated the strength of the opponent. The werewolf in front of her ignored her attacks, exchanged injuries for attack speed, and had an extremely strong body, like an invincible berserker. He was an enemy of the type she had never seen before. If the opponent was also an arcanist, she only had to be careful of the opponent's arcane magic and arcane flash. If the opponent was deeper in the underground world, those powerful monsters that ran out of the laboratory of the great arcanist, then their physiques were not so powerful, and she only had to be careful of the unique magic on the monsters. At first, she thought that the mutant werewolf Warwick was just a magical monster cultivated by the wizard, just like the lizard man and the superior lizard man. But now it seems that she has never encountered such a meat barbarian-like, terrible melee enemy. The female arcanist was about to use the mana-consuming arcane flash to teleport again and try to escape from here. She ran back to inform the Rye mistress that their etherstone mine had been seized. Who knew that the next moment, the werewolf Warwick directly transformed into a werewolf and grabbed his chest with his right claw, letting the blood stain his right claw. Then, he waved the claw in the direction of the female arcanist. The splashing blood, which was full of fire magic after boiling twice, formed a burning flame after contacting the air. Then the flaming claw hit the female arcanist directly, breaking her newly formed dark energy arcane shield and cutting a huge gash in her chest again. Warwick had no mercy on her at all. He took the opportunity to rush in front of her and stepped on her abdomen with his left wolf paw. Ugh! The arcanist opened her mouth and spurted out a pile of blood. "You! What on earth are you, thing?" Obviously, his mental power is not strong, and he doesn't look like a wizard. Why does he have such a strong melee ability? The series of dazzling and violent attacks, one after another, ignored her increasingly serious injuries and directly attacked the enemy without letting him breathe. It was too horrible. This attack method was so terrifying that the female arcane master Song Zong actually felt a little relieved after being defeated. Chapter 172 Now you are a slave too. Blom said to the old butler Warwick. "No way. Mr. Warwick, you can cool me down, but why do you have to fight in such a self-harming way in front of me? You actually used your own fire magic blood to attack the enemy." Sunan glanced at Warwick. "Anyway, werewolves are immortal, so as long as they are not dead, it is easy to recover." Despite this, Sunan still used the life essence potion and potion remote injection to give Warwick extra life energy to help him recover faster. After all, dark energy damage is not ordinary physical damage. Dark energy comes with dark energy toxins. Even the werewolf's self-healing ability will be affected. Warwick glanced at Blom, then at Sunan. He stepped on the chest of the female drow with his flexible wolf feet and controlled her throat with his wolf claws to prevent her from chanting a spell. He turned his head and said to Sunan, "I'm sorry, Lord Sunan, but this is a trick I came up with during the battle because I couldn't hit the opponent for a long time. Since my blood is full of fire magic and magic energy, if I use my blood with wolf claws to attack, I can use the medium and short range wolf blood flying claws. This can also be regarded as the essence of werewolf martial arts. Sunan nodded. Panel abilities are panel abilities, and how to use your panel data and skills is the scope of martial arts. Mr. Warwick, with his superhuman martial arts talent, realized this trick in battle. Speaking of which, the Orthodox Wizard Society more than 2000 years ago used knights to fight against the energy world, but now I have werewolves. There is no need to use knights to deal with energy creatures. Werewolves are substitutes for knights, and they are stronger and more powerful. At least, the knights were deeply involved in the power of the gods, which was too unstable. Sunan looked at the female drow who was being stepped on by Warwick and still wanted to resist, took out a bottle of sleeping potion, and then used the remote potion injection spell to extract 1/10 of the potency of the potion. Sunan pointed at her, and immediately a shuttle of sleeping potion flew out in the direction of his finger, lingering around her body, and then entered her body through her skin. Developing the sleeping spell is very meaningful. This is a spell that Sunan developed in order to capture experimental subjects worth capturing. The female arcanist felt that most of her mental power began to fall asleep. Although she barely stayed asleep with willpower, the remaining active mental power could no longer allow her to release spells and support her actions. The sleeping spell is like an enhanced version of magic and aesthetic. It deprived her of her ability to move and cast spells. Warwick let her go directly. Young master, this sleeping potion is really useful. Can you give me a bottle? Sunan gave him a bottle directly. But it may not be so convenient for you to use. I have a special 0.7 level spell that can be used with this potion to seal the opponent's mobility. If you give it to the target will probably faint directly. The sleeping spell contained in this sleeping potion is about 0.8 levels strong. Once it takes effect, the opponent may not wake up for decades before the spell is removed. If he can survive without food or water. The female arcanist wanted to get up from the ground, but even if she tried hard to lift her fingers, she couldn't move them. She was like a vegetable, but to her surprise, the nerves that enabled her to speak were not affected much. Damn. Won't the sealing magic affect my speech? Damn wizard, your sealing magic is really powerful. Sunan didn't indulge her and said directly, let me ask you, why do you hate wizards so much? Blom, go and arrange the great dwarves. The Grey Dwarves in the pit saw that Sunan's side had defeated Song Zhang, one of the 3 arcane descendants of the Rye Mistress of the Rye main city. They looked at Sunan one by one with more loyalty. Although Sunan's appearance was a bit similar to that of the Crypt people, which made the Grey Dwarves a little uncomfortable with Sunan for a while, some of them even muttered in their hearts, these surface people are the same race as the Crypt people, can they be trusted? But at this moment, seeing this scene, their doubts disappeared. Many Grey Dwarves began to suspect that the surface humans were not relatives of the Crypt people in the underground world as advertised by the Rye main city. They suspected that the surface humans just looked like Crypt people, but in fact they were another kind of drow. If you think about it carefully, the surface humans seem to be quite similar to the drow except for their skin color and ear length. The Grey Dwarf muttered in his heart, could the surface humans also be an arcane race? This is the privilege of the strong. When you are weak, people will associate you with the image of a weak person. When you are strong, they will associate you with the image of the most powerful being in their cognition. The captured female arcanist Song Zhang said to Sunan, shouldn't it be natural that we hate wizards? If it weren't for those wizards who created the other black hole, all of us would have a much better life now. And the wizards want to kill us. Then, there was a curse without much information. Sunan frowned. It seems that this guy doesn't know much. That's right, she looks very young, probably in her 20s. What can she know? Read the error-free version at 69 Book Bar. 69 Book Bar publishes a novel for the first time. Are etheric black holes created by wizards? Sunan asked, what is your name? What is an etheric black hole? Answer honestly. According to the rules of your world, you are now my slave. As he spoke, Sunan picked up the wolf in the form of a hound and brought a slave collar specially made for lizardmen. Then he put it on the female arcanist without mercy, and then carried the collar and carried her to a metal pavilion in a mine to sit down. Although her mental power has been sealed, she should still be equipped with a slave collar for safety reasons. If she does not recover her ability to cast spells, once the collar filled with explosive insect potion explodes, she will definitely have no way to survive. Even if she recovers her ability to cast spells, Sunan doubts whether she can survive after the explosion at her neck. The arcane magic she cast before, Dark Energy Shield, cannot protect her closely. Sunan threw her to the ground. Also, what exactly was your teleportation magic before? That kind of space movement magic can actually be completed at the wizard apprentice stage. If Sunan thinks that the previous arcane magic is just a feature, but the space movement magic at the apprentice stage under the arcane magic system, even if it only moves 10 meters, is enough to make people amazed. This can be said to be a crystallization of the underground world that has developed alone for more than 2000 years. It seems that this underground world has not developed here in vain. After all, there is something. The arcane master Drow Songzan drooped his eyelids weakly. She felt a sense of grievance, humiliation, and disbelief in her heart, as if she was dreaming. But the rules of the underground world reminded her all the time she is no longer a slave owner. She is now a slave of the surface man in front of her. According to the rules of the underground world, this is it. Damn. I didn't expect that this day would come to me. My name is Songzan. The other black hole is a black hole under each main city. That black hole will suck in everything in the underground world, and there will be more and more over time. Deeper underground, it is said that there are black holes with very large diameters. So, we want to leave the underground world and get the land on the surface. Because of the existence of the other black hole. So this place will become a huge black hole sooner or later. It's just a matter of time. The origin of the other black hole is ether magic, which is closely related to arcane magic. The arcane flash I used just now is also a kind of upper arcane magic. Songzan hesitated in his heart and began to tell the truth. As a member of the slave system, she didn't have much sense of belonging to the city-state and the family. If she was a slave owner before, it would be fine, but now she has become Sunan's slave, and now she is confused in her heart. Before she was rescued by her family, she was a slave of the surface people. Does she need to tell everything she knows? Moreover, in the underground world, once a slave for life. Even if she was rescued by her family, she would probably become a slave of the family members who rescued her. Chapter 173 The Nature of Arcane Magic. In the end, Songzan decided to tell it. Anyway, there was no requirement for knowledge confidentiality in the main city of Rai. In the metal pavilion, Songzan accepted his fate and said, Etherite is a unique, or in our world, it is the fifth shape element in the world. Sunan raised his eyebrows. When he heard the word shape, it was like a key that finally unlocked the special secrets of all the unique effects of ether magic. It turns out that the fifth element is shape. Indeed. If there is no fifth element ever, and there are only four elements, then what is the difference between the material plane and the energy world, and the elemental world? The fifth element ether will give all element a shape, forming a material barrier that is stronger than the elemental plane and the energy plane. Therefore, crushing the most common ether stone can change the state of the enemy's weapon, because that is to change the shape of the enemy's weapon. Therefore, adding ether stone to the spirit strengthening potion can strengthen the effect of this potion, and enhance the effect of the potion, that improves spirit power. If this is the case, then I, who have the entrance to the underground world, and occupy the current ether stone mine, are simply picking up a big bargain. Matsunaka said, in the past, arcanists discovered static ether element among magic element, and then used ether element to develop arcane magic. The ether element can deepen mental power, making the spell structure more complex than that of ordinary wizards. This is arcane magic. Arcane magic is more difficult to cast than ordinary magic, because each spell model becomes more complex after being deepened by the ether element. If ordinary spells are to superimpose several flat triangles, then arcane magic is to superimpose several three-dimensional triangles with arcs. In this way, the magic power consumption of using spells can be reduced, and the magic power distribution of spells becomes more reasonable, and the power is also slightly improved. The biggest improvement is the reduction in consumption and precise attack. Also, each of us arcanists has a basic spell, arcane absorption. We will recycle the mana that dissipates in the air to minimize our own consumption. Our arcane magic shield is nothing but the magical energy that escapes when we use arcane magic. So our magic shield will automatically deploy and recover, and it hardly consumes much of our magic power, although it still consumes some. And arcane flicker is a powerful spell based on ether ore. It can change the shape of our bodies, then travel through air particles, and finally return to normal a few meters away. This is arcane flicker. Only magic that can be used by arcanists. There was a hint of pride on Matsunaka's lips as he spoke. Unlike your wizards who need to consume a lot of magic power and resources, the magic resources consumed by the arcanist are very small when casting spells. So the arcanist is a harmless magician, while the wizard is a harmful magician. And this fine tradition of the arcanist is even dependent on blood, and can be inherited by certain people in the family, which is also better than ordinary wizards in terms of inheritance. Blom rolled his eyes and said, "You are a defeated general, but you are still bragging. If you follow your way of thinking, we werewolves are even less dependent on magic, and consume less magic resources. Can I say that werewolves are more powerful than your arcanist? You are just a captive. Don't brag to me. If you brag again, I will beat you." Songzang was insulted by Blom, and his face was red and hot. She closed her eyes and tried not to look at Blom, who insulted the honor of the arcanist. Moreover, Songzang also felt that what Blom said made sense, but she felt it was ridiculous when she thought about it. Sunan suddenly said, "Obviously, the education you received gave you such an impression. But in my opinion, things don't seem to be like this." The female arcanist lay on the ground weakly, looking at Sunan in confusion. Sunan said, "Let me translate your words for you. Why do arcanists pursue extremely complex spell models, accurately recover the magic power that escapes into the air, and accurately calculate the attack power and required attack strength of spells? That's because when the magic tide recedes in the underground world, although there is still a certain amount of magic power, this magic power is no longer enough to support normal wizards. So, the wizards at that time, that is, the ancestors of your arcanists, felt that they had found a savior after discovering the Ether Stone, and began to use the Ether element to deepen their spell models, so as to develop arcane magic with less energy consumption. So arcane magic focuses on precise attacks, recycling and reuse, and consumes less magic power." Songzang gritted his teeth. "How can wizards be the origin of arcanists? The origin of arcanists is Lady Rose. And how can arcane magic be just a variant of wizard spells that had to be developed simply because of the reduction of magical power? No, you are lying to me. You are lying to me. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 69 book bar publishes a novel first. Read at 69 book bar." Sunan continued to tell the facts he inferred from the words he heard from her. But the arcane magic developed in this way certainly has many flaws. There are so many flaws that, under the condition of magic tide, it is far inferior to the magic path of the orthodox wizard society. First of all, arcane magic is too complicated and difficult to learn, while the power has not been greatly improved, so higher and higher requirements are needed for apprentices. This requirement is so high that the original human race may not be able to produce enough geniuses to learn this type of magic that they have just researched. So, a kind of magic that quantifies most of the arcane magic and stores it in the human blood was developed. The result of the transformation of this magic is the drow, the so-called arcane race of the drowers, because arcane magic is too complicated. So human body transformation is needed to lower the threshold for learning arcane magic. If this is not done, arcane magic must perform a lot of calculations while fighting, and has no combat value. So the drow were transformed by them. I don't know whether the earliest batch of wizards were transformed from ordinary humans, or their descendants, or apprentices, but in any case, I do see traces of magical transformation on you, and your ancestors are humans, the same as the cryptids. This is actually deduced by the intelligent brain. Songzan tried her best to get up from the ground and refute Sunan. Her face even looked a little ferocious. Absurd. How could the predecessors of us drow be cryptids? The cryptids, the rubbish who helped the wizards. You actually said that my ancestor is the same ancestor as the rubbish slave race of the cryptids. Absurd. Absurd. Everything you said is false. All lies. Suddenly, Song Zhang seemed to have thought of something. His pupils suddenly shrank, and he stopped struggling. Sunan said, "It seems that you have discovered something related to this before. I have another guess now. I guess it is completely impossible for an ordinary arcanist to be promoted to a formal wizard by himself. Or according to what you say, a great arcanist." Chapter 174. How strong is your mother? Because your magic system has made too many sacrifices and changes in order to survive the receding magic tide. In this case, even if you use the deepening of the complexity of the spell model as an alternative, it will also be at the expense of the potential for promotion. But considering that you claim that there is a great arcanist deep underground, I doubt that you have the possibility of using external objects to solve the bottleneck of promotion. Sunan looked at Song Zhang, who had a confused look on his face, and smiled. You haven't thought about how to become a formal wizard or a great arcanist, have you? Since there are legends of great arcanists deep underground, you should work hard to find a way to become one. Song Zhang was speechless for a while, then said, I'm already very satisfied to be an arcanist. Even my mother, Madame Rai, didn't become a great arcanist. Am I worthy of it? Besides, that is the realm of the great arcanist, Madame Rose. I. Sunan frowned and said, although it is said that arcanists are born from wizards, if you don't keep the heart of exploring the truth, then what is the difference between you and warlocks? Song Zhang's eyes showed a look of incomprehension. Forget it. Sunan thought. The race of these arcanists is born with problems, so the real great arcanists deep in the underground world may deliberately use this kind of education to limit their thinking and learning abilities. After all, in an era of scarce magic, an extra great arcanist is definitely not a good thing. So, my discussion with this woman is like playing the lute to a cow. This woman is called an arcanist, but she is just a person who reads from the book and does not use her brain, think or explore actively. Sunan released the magic pressure on her. Suddenly, Song Zhang gritted his teeth and said, this is the feeling I have felt around my mother. I have only felt it around my mother, the Rye Mistress. Sunan raised his eyebrows. He did this to test the power of the Rye Mistress, because only when the mental power exceeds 80 can the magic pressure be generated. It seems that the mental power of the Rye Mistress is at least above 80. Even in the gathering of petrified witches, the Rye Mistress is the most powerful one. Sunan asked Song Zhang, it seems that your mother has also transformed her spiritual power into magic pressure. Who do you think is stronger, my magic pressure, or your mother's magic pressure? Song Zhang thought deeply for a while, then hesitated and said, do you want to hear the truth, or my flattery? I don't know what kind of slave owner you are, but according to the rules of the underground world, I should say something that will make you happy. Sunan said, the truth. Song Zhang pursed his lips, and then as if he had finally found an opportunity to make a comeback, he said proudly, then my truth is that my mother, Mistress Blackrye's magic pressure, is stronger than yours. Much stronger. You will not be my mother's opponent. As my master, if you can treat me well, I can tell you some places where you can avoid my mother's power, but still get resources. Song Zhang thought for a long time and finally admitted that she was a slave the moment she was captured. She will be a slave for life. Although she was very frustrated, she could only be prepared and try to live a better life with her new master. Sunan glanced at her. I see. He is not a great arcanist, so he is below the formal wizard, but his magic pressure is stronger than mine. But it doesn't matter. First of all, with this other mine, I can use potions to improve my mental power in a short time. Secondly, the panel data doesn't mean anything. As long as the other party is not a real formal wizard, he is still a wizard apprentice, just a stronger wizard apprentice. Even if it is pure mental power, or the mana is temporarily stronger than mine, but the mana is converted into combat power, it is the pros and cons of meditation, the strength of the spell model, the mastery of magic close to the first ring spell, and various magic props. Sunan is confident that, although the Rye Mistress has an army of an entire underground city, his werewolf group and scarab beetle swarm are not inferior, and may even be more powerful. Sunan did not respond to Song Zhang's words, but said to her coldly, "You haven't mentioned the other black hole yet. Also, tell me about the categories of other ore." Song Zhang glanced at Sunan weakly. She didn't understand why the surface wizard in front of her didn't change his emotions at all after listening to her evaluation. Wouldn't he be afraid? He was an arcane master among arcane masters. Song Zhang said, "Master of the surface people. The other black hole is a harm to our underground world by those evil wizards. Those evil wizards don't have enough magical power to defeat the arcane masters." Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 69 book bar publishes a novel for the first time. So, they did something very dangerous. They conducted secret research, combining a large amount of Featherstones and the blood of various races in the underground world. They wanted to summon the magic tide again, or at least a small amount of magic tide in this way. It was a huge failure of magic experiment. Sunan raised his eyebrows. It turned out that the underground hiding wizards, who carried out magical transformation on a large number of creatures, were not for the purpose of creating their own army, but they were for the purpose of summoning magic tides by themselves. I think they didn't have this plan at first. They really just wanted to hide in the underground world and barely survive. But some of the underground hiding wizards should have new ideas after discovering a large amount of Featherstones. Matsunaka continued. As a result, the magic tide was not summoned, but instead formed a sphere that was a mixture of the characteristics of biological flesh and blood and a highly condensed mixture of Featherstone. I heard from my mother that you wizards not only created one such sphere, but dozens of such spheres in a row. These spheres are a mixture of Featherstone and flesh and blood creatures, so they are traditional leather magic with a high degree of cohesion. They also have a certain consciousness of their own, and can actively attack all nearby organisms. They stretched out a magic called the Ether Black Hole Standpoint. This black hole continues to expand, and becomes more powerful as it swallows more magic. Other black holes absorb magic power in the air. Only by giving them sacrifices will they be quiet. Each other black hole must be suppressed by a main town. If it is too powerful, several main towns may be needed. But there are also some good side effects. The magic energy near the other black hole will increase by several levels due to its black hole absorption effect. Sunan glanced at her suspiciously. In that case, it is possible that the so-called wizards you mentioned and your ancestors of the arcane masters initially collaborated to create the other black hole. The purpose was to increase the concentration of magic energy in certain areas of the underground world. But later, they had different ideas and a war broke out. After all, judging from the results, it seems that you have gained huge benefits from the other black hole. I think that without the other black hole, you would have been even more uncomfortable in those years without the magic tide. Matsunaka wanted to refute, but she thought about the question she had thought about before. If there was no other black hole under the main city of Rai, how uncomfortable would she live as an arcane master? I'm afraid that she would have to calculate for a long time to use any magic. If she consumed a little magic, it would take several months to recover. It is even possible that the concentration of her own magic power exceeds the concentration of magic power in the surrounding environment, and the magic power not only does not recover, but continues to flow away. Chapter 175 I want to meet the wizard of the underground dodging sect. In the pavilion of the mine, Sunan said to the female arcanist Song Zhang, "Tell me in detail, what resources are there in the underground world, where the main city of Rai is located? What important areas are there? How many troops are there? And how many arcanists are as powerful as you?" Sunan thought for a while and asked, "By the way, are there any wizards in the underground world? If so, do you know where they are?" The reason why I asked this was that I really needed the data of the research results of the underground evasion wizards. The reason was that I encountered a serious problem when I was upgrading the werewolves. This problem might be the problem encountered by the Keelmus Wolf Fort recorded in the diary of the Oak Wizard more than 2000 years ago. So the werewolves that were exterminated by the energy world more than 2000 years ago were so weak, cannot have magic pressure. This is a very serious problem, because the path taken by the Orthodox Wizard Society, at least more than 2000 years ago, was to increase their soul power to 80 times, and then convert ordinary mental radiation pressure into magic pressure. This is the direction to go further. When you become a formal wizard, the magic pressure will be combined with the defense spell model to form a constant defense formation to protect yourself, further improve your life level, and thus gain mental power and magic power, and further possibilities. The Oak Wizard did not have this constant defense formation, one ring constant defense magic, before, because his mental power should be less than 80 after more than 2000 years of consumption and random possession. The problem with werewolves is that this kind of melee race that almost relies on pure melee ability and directly treats magic energy and fire magic as their own blood to fight. Their mental power is not high, which makes it difficult for them to follow the path of wizards and break through to the state of four sublimations. The intelligent brain is also deducing a solution to this problem. The lack of magic pressure is the most critical problem. Because in the process of improving the life level, the magic pressure is like a new body given to a higher life level. This is a way for the Orthodox Wizard Society to further improve. Although Sunan can also let the werewolves practice meditation. But first, not every werewolf has the talent for meditation. Second, this is a werewolf going astray. The path of life sublimation was broken, and halfway through, it connected to the path of wizards. The werewolf is the biggest product of his own potion system at present, so if the problem of the four sublimations of the werewolf cannot be solved, it means that his potion system will be stuck here. Sunan believes that in the past thousands of years, there may be wizard apprentices who have embarked on the same path as himself, but perhaps they are also stuck at this juncture like himself, and then choose to give up. After all, if the mental radiation cannot be transformed into magic pressure, the body will not be strong enough, and it will be difficult to go to the next level. Sunan originally wanted to capture some energy creatures and study their bodies to see if he could find a solution. But there are actually better options. Sunan looked at his female arcane slave, Song Zhang, in front of him. The underground evasion wizards all follow the direction of biological transformation of the spell school. They regard the underground world as a huge experimental site for them. Deeper in the underground world, there are more dangerous creatures that they have left behind. If he can obtain the experimental data results of the underground evasion wizards, it is equivalent to directly obtaining their research data for at least 1,000 years. No matter how useless the underground evasion wizards are, their information will definitely be helpful to me. Song Zhang was frightened by Sunan's eyes, but she was more surprised by another thing. You, master of the surface people, how did you know that I have information about wizards? I haven't told anyone this news. She was horrified. Information about wizards is an absolute taboo in this underground world. Even if she is an arcanist, she cannot say the word wizard, nor can she have anything to do with wizards. In the past, there were arcanists who sympathized with and tried to understand wizards, but they were all brutally killed by the arcanists and the Arcanist Society. Sunan raised his eyebrows. I just saw that she showed a look of reminiscence and fear when I mentioned that the ancestors of the drow were humans, so I guessed that she might know something. Unexpectedly, she really has information about the wizards in the underground world. Then I'm lucky I didn't catch the wrong slave. Sunan said, you are now a slave of wizards, so why should you be afraid of your fellow arcanists? Matsunaka pursed his lips bitterly. That's true. Master of the surface. 6 months ago, in the diamond mines of the underground world, I found a magical image that seemed to be left by a wizard, which was bewitching people. No, it was trying to convey information to us. I was hesitating whether to tell my mother, but before I could think it through, it fell into your hands. Matsunaka recalled. The underground world, where the main city of Rai is located, is the upper layer of the underground world, but the distance from the lower layer to the upper layer is far, and there are only a few fixed passages. In addition, the weather here is cold, so the creatures in the lower layer generally don't come to us. They can't stand the cold weather here. We call this a temperature gradient. The closer to the depth of the underground world, the higher the temperature will be. The temperature of the middle underground world should be above 100 degrees Celsius. Originally, there were several main cities in this upper underground world, but my mother, after years of war, took 100 years to unify this area. My mother is over 150 years old. So, we are currently the only underground main city that has launched an attack on the surface. Because we are closest to the surface, we are also most likely to feel the arrival of the magic tide. Songzandeo, Rai Underground Domain. This is the name of the place here. The main source of food for the Rai Underground Domain is the volcanoes in this underground world. Some volcanoes are even artificial volcanoes summoned by my mother using powerful arcane magic to pull the underground mantle to flow. The heat energy generated by these volcanoes continuously provides our main food crop, red milk volcano mushroom. This mushroom has a very large yield. As long as there is enough heat energy, we can produce a continuous field of mushrooms within a week. The more advanced food in the underground world, the food of the arcane, is a more delicious mushroom. Milk mushroom and black tiger paw mushroom, which are delicious mushrooms that can only grow in the crater. Blom felt something was wrong. Wait, do you only eat mushrooms in the underground world? Songzan looked at Blom a little confused. What else? For the creatures in the underground world, it is already a luxury to eat black tiger paw mushrooms and milk mushrooms 3 times a day. That is food that only arcane masters can eat. The error-free version is read at 69 Book Bar. 69 Book Bar publishes a novel for the first time. 69 Book Bar read. Blum looked at Sunan and Warwick. At this moment, the 3 of them exchanged glances, and then looked at the female arcanist Songzang, who was still savoring the delicious taste of the 2 kinds of precious mushrooms. The 3 of them finally understood why the underground army of the main city of Rai was so crazy about attacking the surface world. Songzang continued to recall. The most important resource points in the Rai domain are 2 aetherite mines, 5 stationary iron mines, 17 iron mines, 8 copper mines, 1 diamond mine, 1 gold mine, 1 diamond mine, 2 silver mines, 1 jade mine, 1 sapphire mine, and 2 ruby veins. And the mushroom breeding areas of the 31 underground volcanoes I mentioned earlier. Except for the main city of Rai, there are no other cities here. All cities have been demolished by Mother, and the walls of those cities have been moved back to the main city of Rai as the walls of the main city of Rai. Except for the main city of Rai, the rest of this area is all scattered villages and town gathering places. There are also a large number of monsters in the wild. The most dangerous of these monsters are the monsters left behind by wizards. The size of the Rai domain should be about the same as the southern Thrace military region on your surface. Sunan nodded. From this point of view, the underground world is indeed a natural metal world. There are so many veins in the Rai domain alone, as well as stationary iron veins and aetherite veins that belong to the underground world. The most important thing is that there are gold mines, silver mines, diamond mines, and ruby and sapphire veins. This is really, as long as I can dig it out, it is just like helping the Storm Kingdom colonize a new continent. Peter will bring a steady stream of expensive metals to the surface, and it may even bring down the gold prices of the countries with surface order, causing inflation. It's like the Spanish Empire in the previous life, which caused inflation in Europe. But although the Spanish royal family gained huge wealth from this, they squandered all this wealth, because they only used gold to buy a large amount of materials from other countries, which helped other countries develop their industries. But as long as I use gold to develop the industry and agriculture of my own territory, it doesn't matter. Moreover, my magic research consumes a lot of money every day. If I can occupy this Rai domain, my secular money problems will be solved, and Maple Leaf City can get a lot of funds, which may be more arrogant than the previous Othello family. Sunan had a feeling of dimensionality reduction. When the Othello family was running around on the ocean on the surface, struggling for a little bit of gold coins from other countries, he began to discover the new world underground. The old butler Warwick also reacted. If Peter had this wealth, he could become a duke, not to mention an earl, or even further. The difference was just whether Sunan wanted it or not. They must get this Rai domain. Through the wolf pack effect, Sunan found that Jinx had ordered the swarm to attack a lizardman town, and after destroying all the lizardmen in that town, she began to treat that town as her own worm nest, ordering many scarab queens to lay eggs, lay fungal mats, and start the next round of evolution. The reason why Sunan needed the swarm was that the swarm was also a race without high mental power. Therefore, Sunan wanted to see if the scarab swarm would reproduce and update in large numbers and evolve forward. Will it give them a new evolutionary direction, and give them a way to solve the problem of werewolves having no magic pressure? As long as it succeeds, it will be a great progress for the potion system. If he can't even solve the problem of magic pressure, Sunan thinks he should not play with the potion system. Sunan said to Song Zhang, "Now I will remove some of the seals on you, so that you can walk, but you can't use magic. Don't play tricks. If I find any signs of you betraying me, I will kill you immediately and detonate the slave collar around your neck. I want you to take me to that diamond mine. I want to meet the wizards of the underground evasion faction. Speaking of which, if there is a diamond mine, it seems that a diamond golem can be made." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.